everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Watchlist Podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Boyer, and we have something a little bit different for you guys today. I'm joined by two guests, one who you may remember back from episode 3, Brennan Boorse, and another friend of mine from high school, Rob Morrissey. How are you guys doing?
Hello, I'm good. Coming at you from live telecom. It's bad out here. It's bad out here in Philly. People are looting. The streets are chaos. Brennan, how are you doing?
I mean, I ran out of lube on day one, so I mean, I have just been dry jacking it for like 4 straight days. It's like
has been a real concern for me. Actually, I'm gonna cut the bit. I'm gonna cut the bit and get into something real. That's been a huge concern for me. Is like, where are all these Chatterbait models going to get? I'm sorry, is that this kind of show? Like, what kind of show
you can say whatever you want. We're off to a great start.
I don't know. I mean, I'm just like watching these Chatterbait models. I'm like, you guys use so much lube. I hope you stocked up. Like, I know Amazon's only delivering groceries now. That's my whole.
Dude, I started using shampoo at a certain point, but it gave me a rash. It was whack as hell.
Yeah, we're doing great. How are you doing, Jacob?
I miss talking to you guys so much. So yeah, I usually, for those listening in, I do try and record these a little bit far in advance. So if this whole thing is blown over by now, we are kind of in the height of the whole statewide, nationwide shutdown. So just frame of reference. But I've been holding up well, all things considered. Had plenty of time to watch some interesting movies, which we'll get into later.
Yeah, I'm mad at both of you. I'm like I didn't realize until like 4 o'clock today that apparently we're all fighting, or at least like both of you are fighting with me. It was very frustrating.
Well, I mean, the other thing is I've been trying to get Brennan to watch my pick for about the length of time I've known the both of you. And well, this is the only way I was making it happen. So I'm sorry. Like, when I realized I could like force you to watch a film, I was like, what are the movies I've struggled to get him to watch? I stand by my choice. My choice was good.
Yeah, I stand by mine.
Of the choices made, yours was not the worst one, Rob. I'll say that.
Yeah, I mean, that was Jacob, because I haven't listened to your show, but when you sent me that pick, I was like, oh, I know exactly what kind of show I'm going on.
Yeah.
I still don't know what you guys are talking about. That was nothing short of a modern masterpiece.
It's like, I know we're not
told
talking
me that
about
I
it
had
yet,
seen the face of God.
Oh my god! Well, now that we've sufficiently teased that for later in the episode, let's just get into some generic stuff. So since we're all under quarantine, what have been some things you guys have been watching to pass the time?
Oh boy. Where do we start? I guess New Girl. Gilmore Girls.
Only the recent Simpsons.
I will say that for like a split second,
the
Rob,
HBO show.
When I first got your recommendation, Rob, I was driving and it just popped up on my phone. I glanced at it really quick, and for a second I was like, "Wait, Mean Girls?"
Oh, well.
Is that we're going there?
God,
Interesting.
Yeah, I wish.
I would have made Brennan and myself far too happy. In actuality, I've been mainly playing video games.
Okay, fair enough.
That's a pretty big same from me. I recently got my copy of Uncut Gems on Blu-ray the other day, so I've been trucking through that like meal by meal, but that's only like half hour at a time, and then I can just kind of go back to playing video games.
Right.
Yeah, Brennan can only watch movies a half hour at a time.
That's I live life a half hour at a time, Rob.
It's a good way to live life.
Yeah,
so what kind of video games have you guys been playing then? I know, Brennan, you mentioned a little bit Death Stranding in the last time I had you on.
Oh yeah, I feel so many moons ago. I recently,
So many highways ago.
yeah, exactly. So many highways that I built for other people that I can't use anymore because I'm done playing the game. Now, I ran through God of War, which is great. Spider-Man, which is great, aside from Spider-Man being a cop, and then The Last of Us, which was pretty good. And just kind of fucking around with the Uncharted stuff now.
Fair enough. Rob, what about you?
Well, I've been playing a lot of Fallout 76. Basically, I spent a couple hours, tearing down and rebuilding my camp. Then I go spend a couple hours killing zombies and leveling up. And then I go and tear my camp down. And then I rebuild it. I don't really know what else you do in that game. But yeah, I've been logging like a lot of hours because they dropped a double EXP event for the quarantine because they know it's the scummiest shit. It's like Brennan brought this up to me in 2008 when the financial crisis happened. Modern Warfare 2 dropped the stimulus package. It was called the stimulus package because they knew 5 million Americans just lost their jobs and there was an uptick of players. So they dropped the stimulus package. Yeah. So a bunch of games have been doing that, and I've been really struggling because I work from home now. Mm-hmm. I've been struggling not to just play video. On the conference calls in the mornings, because we've switched to digital, I now cover my camera and just play video games. It's that is definitely Fallout 76, Apex Legends. We're playing a lot of Apex Legends, which the movie I recommended is just the 1997 Battle Royale movie. It's the Fortnite Apex movie. But I've been playing that a lot, which is tough.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of 13-year-old kids on Adderall who are home now. So that's been very competitive recently.
It's so embarrassing.
Yeah. So that's what I got going on.
That's really where you find out where your skill set truly lies, when all the kids are finally online.
I've explained this I've talked to Rob about this multiple times, and it's super frustrating to know that as much time we put into video games that we're not even close to the top percentile, quarter percentile of people that are good at them or whatever.
Exactly.
Hold on, wait. Speak for yourself. I'm definitely in that top quarter. I might be the line between that top corner and the bottom 75%. But
I don't know about that, Rob.
I'm there, baby.
I don't know about that, Rob.
Oh, I also the one thing I watched I watched Bad Lieutenant again recently. Bad Lieutenant is the most upsetting movie of the 20th century, which movies have only been around since the 20th century. So there you go. It's the most upsetting one.
Are you talking about Harvey Keitel or Nick Cage?
Yes, Harvey Keitel. Okay. It is just so upsetting. There's a 4-minute scene of him shooting heroin. And the other thing is you watch him smoke so much crack. Yeah. So much That movie really upset the shit out of me. And I also watched Leon the Professional. And can I ask you guys a question?
Sure.
In the extended cut of that, does he hook up with Natalie Portman? Is that a thing?
It's French been ages. I don't remember.
Okay, because I did not watch the extended cut, but I've said to people recently, you should watch that movie, and they've been like, oh, that movie is about a weird older Frenchman banging a 10-year-old Natalie Portman. I was like, no, it's not. At least not the one I saw.
Yeah,
it's kind of in there.
It's been actual years since I've seen.
Well, she's trying to do it to him. She's trying to catch him. She's the predator.
Okay. So while
it's a real
we're
hard
on
candy
subject,
situation.
While we're blaming victims.
Well, it's also kind of a fucking Fateful Findings situation, which is one of the more upsetting parts.
Investigate these filmmakers. Investigate the filmmakers.
Neil Breen needs to be guillotined immediately.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
What have you been watching, Jacob?
I'm so looking forward to this. No, it's other than your guys' movies, just it's been mainly suggestions for the show. I've been kind of in whatever free time I can get. Sometimes I'll rewatch clips of stuff to figure if like what's a good future recommendation. I'm toying with right now. I have someone coming up on my guest list who has no idea who Hunter Thompson is, and I'm thinking of springing Fear and Loathing on them. But I don't know for sure if I'll pull the trigger on that. But I did rewatch a little bit of Fear and Loathing lately, and along with, I don't know if you guys are familiar with there was a documentary that came out in like 2008, I think, called Gonzo. Yeah, that was really good. I rewatched parts of
Life
that.
and Times.
Yeah.
That documentary is, I like that better than Fear and Loathing for sure. I really like that documentary.
Yeah.
One of my Johnny Depp is like totally sober for at least 1 day of filming.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
He's got like good interviews. He's got like actual like can talk to people interviews. What happened?
Yeah. Amber Heard some of it, but no
victim blaming. This is not a victim blaming podcast.
Jacob, you might want to edit that part out for yourself, bud. Whoa!
Oh,
hey,
man.
The actress that was in Aquaman would not do that. All right.
Oh my god.
The esteemed actress in The Love Diary.
The Love Diary.
The Rum Diary.
Or the Rum Diary.
I'm having a stroke.
By the way,
God.
Rum Diary is like pretty fucking unwatchable. I can't get on board with it.
Yeah,
okay, here's 3 movies. They're all very similar, except 2 of them work. You got The Rum Diary, you have Inherent Vice, and The Master. Which 2 do that thing the best?
Oh, the 2 Paul Thomas Anderson movies.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like,
it's been a while since I watched The Rum Diary back, like when I was at like the height of my Hunter Thompson, and I remember not hating it, but I don't remember liking it. So I'll have to give that one another viewing and see what changes.
Who's the guy who's in Gone in 60 Seconds? What's his name?
Giovanni Ribisi.
Yes, the only enjoyable part of that movie is Giovanni Ribisi and his fat friend. That's all I know how to describe him as.
Yeah, I think those are my favorite scenes, is when they're just kind of goofing off with Johnny
in the
Depp.
Car.
Yeah.
You know, they're like.
Oh, really? Because I like it when Aaron Eckhart is being mean to poor people. That's kind of what I.
Oh, you mean the behind the scenes of Aaron Eckhart?
Just the trailer footage. Yeah. Just the scenes. Yeah.
Oh my god. All right, so let's get.
Hold up. Do you think he does the Two-Face thing with immigrants? They like go over the and he like flips the coin on them. Like, I don't like the guy. I'm not condoning it. I'm just saying.
Oh my god, it's funny. Kind of a weird tangent. My younger brother finally saw The Dark Knight for the first time ever. And he was.
How old is he?
Your younger brother 10?
No, he just went into his freshman year at of college. So he was never really big into movies. He's only just recently kind of gotten in. Well, I mean, now of course he's gotten into like movies to kill
Jacob,
time when he's on lockdown. But
clearly he hates the thing you love most.
He sees something in you that he's trying to distance himself.
Oh my god! Is this what I'm going to become one day?
These films took my brother from me.
It's bad enough that I look like him, but it's.
So can I like build off of just people seeing films in college versus high school and middle school?
Right.
Like if you saw Star Wars or any of the Tarantino films,
that's the other thing too, is that's other stuff that he's also getting into now.
Well, that's if you wait until you watch those movies, or if you wait till you're in college to watch them, you will have bad opinions about them. I wholeheartedly believe every person I know who like didn't watch Star Wars till college thinks that like all the prequels are all like not even worth watching. They're like 6 more than 4, and 5 is just like unimportant to everyone.
more prequel talk on this podcast. I'm sorry,
man.
Jacob. I forgot.
No, it's okay. I haven't.
Well, wait. Okay, what are the good ones to you, Jacob? I know I keep derailing.
No. It's okay. I really enjoy Empire, and I really enjoy Return of the Jedi. The prequels are guilty pleasures. Like, I know they're not good, but I'll skip to.
Yeah, we can stop. We can stop right there.
I'll skip to the. I usually, whenever I'm watching the prequels, it's just for the action scenes. If I'm honest,
literally worse action scenes than the originals.
I disagree, but
the prequels are all about politics, baby. Politics.
Rob. The Duel of the Fates is like the greatest.
The Fates is like an allegory for the American justice system.
Did you hear how they reused it in 9?
And it looks good as a fight.
All right, we can stop talking about Star Wars.
No, it's okay. But so I guess I keep bringing this up in
wait,
single.
real quick, Jacob. Do you renounce the sequel trilogy?
I renounce the last one. I don't like. There's like I really Rian Johnson. I liked Knives Out, and that's pretty much it. And I do like some of the things that he did in Episode 8, but I don't. And I think Force Awakens was just a soft remake of New Hope.
Oh, you think?
Yeah.
Well, let's be clear. Rian Johnson deserves his own trilogy. Rian Johnson did nothing wrong. Rian Johnson is great at Twitter. Okay, that's all I have to say about Rian Johnson.
Oh my god!
I didn't he say somewhere that he was getting like that he was going to do a not like a sequel trilogy, but like it was going to be a trilogy of movies set in the Star Wars universe, but have nothing to do with the Skywalker saga.
They promised him a trilogy before 8 even came out. Mm-hmm. And then about 6 months after 8 came out, more like a year after the backlash really settled in, they took it away from him. But 6 months ago, he went and did an interview with like Access Hollywood and said that his trilogy is still on.
No, here's what happened.
Yes, he did.
Listen.
It's happening.
This is happening. Here's what's really happening. This is the deep state
trying to take down a great filmmaker.
The deep state.
Rian Johnson.
Rian.
Is it Ryan or Rian? Because I've only ever heard Ryan. It's Rian. Oh wow.
Listen, Rian Johnson.
Rian.
I'm so confused.
Carry on.
All right. So yeah, that's where I stand with the this. I'm not as big into them as everyone else is, but I like Empire and I like Return of the Jedi. And Last Jedi has some moments that I'm like, okay, I like that. But it's a flawed movie, but I do like it.
Rogue One. Just give me like a 5 words on Rogue One.
Good action, good last 5 minutes.
All right, I'm getting off of this call right now. Goodbye,
I'm so frustrated. I didn't know.
Okay, right. Sorry. Good last 5 minutes, not good last 20 seconds. How about that?
No. Pass on the whole movie. There's nothing good to be said about it.
Does it make up for does the fact that I never watched Solo make up for that?
Solo is so much better.
Oh my god, I'm failing left and right here.
Yeah, this
Solo is better than A New Hope.
Really?
A is no longer about what Jacob wanted to do, but B, it's not a safe place for Jacob to be anymore.
No, I understand.
I am kind of glad that we have this quarantine in effect. I may have to. Yeah. Otherwise, I would have to lock my door tonight. Oh man. Okay, so. One last thing before we kind of get into the more broad
more broads.
But so we kind of touched. I keep on bringing it up in early episodes, and Brennan, we talked about it on the episode you were on already. But Rob, what are some of your favorite movies overall? Your go-tos?
It's tough, man. I love The Godfather, Apocalypse Now. Those are like two that kind of never leave the top 5, but I have like an ever-evolving like top 10, you know.
Right.
right now it's like Uncut Gems.
Mhm.
Uncut Gems is like key. I think a key to success and happiness is watching that movie.
Okay.
Definitely Parasite. I know you guys just talked about it. Parasite really broke into my favorite, films right now. I'll give you one more. I want to give you one more.
Never mind. All right, you can continue.
No.
Yeah,
Brennan, I want to hear what Brennan said. What were you going to say there?
I like Parasite. I just like it less now that I've sat with it.
Really?
Because it's a foreign movie, it just sucks.
You're just like on the quarantine. You're
gross,
like, we gotta keep.
I don't.
We gotta keep our borders closed, huh?
The Chinese Parasite. It's all their fault.
Yeah. I'm trying to keep parasites out of my house right now. I had to throw my Blu-ray out.
So, sorry, Rob, you were saying.
Well, yeah, the last one I want to give you, and these are just, like I said, it's ever evolving. These are all newer ones on here right now. Train to Busan. Now,
I think I talked about that too.
I'm not a huge zombie movie guy, and Train to Busan is it's South Korean, right? I think it's a South Korean zombie film. It's the greatest zombie film ever made. It really does better than any American zombie movie. And I'm going all the way back. I know American film invented zombie. I'm going all the way back. This beats them. To the point that, I recommend this movie to people that I know do not like zombie movies. That's Train to Busan is for sure top pick.
That's like your go-to. Like anyone's like, oh man, what's a good movie you'd recommend? It's Train to Busan.
Yeah, if someone's looking for something good that's gonna throw them, really not something that is totally comfort zone stuff. That movie really does it for me. I also I'll admit my opinion might be a little jaded because it is a very deep father-child story to it, and my dad had just died. So that was very that hit home for sure. But yeah, that movie is going to be in there for a while. It's a killer movie.
Yeah, it's really good. I haven't seen it in a while, but I should definitely rewatch it sometime. Hearing you talk about it reminds me how good it is.
Oh yeah.
And then one other thing, I meant to say it at the top of the show, but we kind of derailed almost immediately. But I did want to just say, because I touched again on this a little bit with you, Brennan, but Rob, for those listening, Rob is a friend of mine from high school, and you were a really big instrumental part in helping me get my first awful feature film made. Both of you in many different ways. So I just wanted to say thanks for that before we
come on with that, Jacob.
You helped out a lot, man. Even though with the whole acting thing, you had a lot of insightful things to say about the writing.
With the whole bad acting thing.
Exactly. Well, no, with the writing, and I definitely needed all the help I could get in the writing area. So, and then Rob, obviously, with your whole, you can let this schmuck use my camera for an hour after school every day. That was huge of you.
No, you're not. No, I knew that you were actually, you set out to do something, and I knew that I was just getting high every day, putting that camera in my backpack and not using it. So we're good. You're good, man. I'm happy that you get to do continue with this shit. And when you make a feature film, you're gonna have to give us EP credits. So it's not like we're not. It's not like we didn't gain something from that.
Definitely. As soon as I crowdfund something successful, you guys are there.
Crowdfunding, never mind. I don't want my name on that shit.
It's charity, bro. What am I, a socialist?
Jacob, I'm taking a hard turn with last time we talked. Arabian shell companies and you're stealing money from governments to make your movies.
Yo, real quick, guys. So I have got the first Pokemon movie playing in the background right now, and what can I say? Mewtwo is dummy thick.
Oh boy!
I mean, look at the hips on that thing. Right?
Yeah, I mean,
this thing,
I was a Yu-Gi-Oh guy. I don't
know. Well, I gotta say that the hip to thigh ratio, it's perfect. Yeah, on Mewtwo, but.
Yes,
I don't-
yeah. You almost left me out high and dry there.
I don't know if this is the best episode yet or the worst, but I'm enjoying it. So.
Oh, well, either way, we're going to get you there. It's going to be one or the other for sure.
All right. So here's a fun little thing we can do before we get into the actual film discussion. I don't know if we'll go through the entire list that I have here, but time permitting, we'll see what we can do. So are you guys familiar with the whole tier list thing that was going on the internet a while ago, where people were like ranking random things into like S tier, A tier, all the way down to F?
Oh, you mean when the internet stole a piece of gaming culture?
Yeah.
And like made it for normies?
Basically, yeah. So one thing that Brennan and I talked a little bit about, we talked extensively about this past year's Oscars, but we kind of touched on our thoughts on how the Best Picture winners in the past few years have been kind of eh. So one thing I thought would be interesting is if we went down the list of past few years, the Best Picture winners of the Oscars, and let's put them on a tier list. So
cool.
I'll just go right down the list, starting with Parasite. We'll work our way backwards, and we'll decide where each one goes. So
wait, how low does the scale go?
So we're S is like the gold standard, like amazing, and then you go A, B, C, D, E, F, with F being absolute shit. So
cool.
All right, starting with Parasite. How do you guys? I know, Brennan, you've reversed your opinion, but where
I'm sorry. I was in character as Aaron Eckhart. When I was doing that.
Where do you guys think Parasite
I'll give it
falls?
an A or a B, right?
Yeah, I'm tempted to give it S.
I don't think it's an S tier movie.
It's I forgot that S was a tier there. Yeah, well, I'm definitely tempted. I mean, you're putting it
I
at
give it
B?
A. You see, I was saying A or
Okay.
B because, like, Brennan, you're coming in being like, I hate people from Korea, so...
Aaron Eckhart is...
I was trying to give you, like, some wiggle room with your racism.
No, listen, Aaron Eckhart also said that shit about Mewtwo. I don't know if who you were in character as, but it seemed like you agreed with Aaron Eckhart quite
I did agree with Aaron Eckhart. Aaron Eckhart's a really smart guy.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold up.
I'm just gonna put
I'm also a racist.
I'm dropping Parasite into A tier.
Give it an A tier. Give it
All
an
right,
A
yeah,
tier.
we're giving it an A. All right. The next up, Green Book. I'm
S.
Like, what's the lowest tier?
F.
F. F tier.
Definitely.
I have not seen it.
It's an S tier. S is in Sam.
Oh my god.
I'm sorry. How seriously am I supposed to take this? Because that win was one of my favorite wins in a while.
I mean,
Like, isn't it almost the most perfect thing? A group of 20 Italian men in tuxedos getting on stage to accept an award about, like,
racism,
tolerance in movies.
All right, so Green Book. Are we comfortable with F tier?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, The Shape of Water.
I liked it. B tier.
I'll give it I would give it a... Dude, I don't know. I haven't seen it in a while. And now my opinion feels... Because, like, I've gone through so much since that the world, really the nation, America's changed. And we need to change with the times. We need to compromise and be bold. So I'm going to say, like, a B tier.
B tier. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. This fish romance movie. We're getting very progressive. Moonlight. Where do we fall on that?
Wait, which movie? I was talking. I didn't hear you.
No, it's okay. Moonlight.
Oh, I didn't see it. Pass. I'm not gonna.
I liked it when I saw it. I mean, like, if you only give one oh man, I just I resent a photo. Okay.
Brennan, please stop. Brennan's just sending me the worst shit on my phone right now.
Oh my
I have been caught.
Wow, this is some, like, really sad. Ugh.
This is definitely the best podcast.
I
ever
just have to
recorded.
describe the one. Brennan just sent me a picture. It's a cartoon of Peter Parker tied to a bed with two girls, I guess Mary Jane and Gwen Stacy, measuring his like less than 2-inch cock and laughing at him while he's got a vibrator in his. This is not the first time Brennan has sent me things like this.
I think that's the hardest I've ever heard Brennan laugh. Okay, all this is to say, Moonlight is a C tier.
Yeah.
That's true.
Oh man. All right, Spotlight. I didn't even see that one.
I like Spotlight. I really did like Spotlight. Can you say the same tier as something you've already said, or do you have?
Yeah. No, we can put everything more than one movie per tier.
Brennan, have you never seen a tier list?
No. I mean, there's tears coming out of my face right now. But, I mean, I'm gonna say A for Spotlight. I really like Spotlight. It's a really it's not like none of the characters are like super distinct, and that I think is like part of the script even too, with how it's trying to be accurate. But all of the actors are really kind of doing their own thing to like bring it together, and it is just like, I don't know. It's a nice little thing. I like Michael Keaton. Mark Ruffalo's killing it. It's Rachel McAdams is good too. Everyone's kind of doing their own little thing. I like it.
Rob, had you seen Spotlight? Because that's one of the only ones on this list I haven't seen.
I've seen Spotlight. I would agree A tier, just with the caveat that like we all need to remember it's a totally fictional movie. None of that
fictitious. Yeah,
like, a lot of people call the church every day about that movie, and you're just wasting their time.
All right, now this one I do have opinions on. Birdman. I'm feeling a strong A at the very least. What do we think? I'll give it a pretentious A.
I'm gonna say C.
C, really, for Birdman. What makes you say that?
I liked it when I saw it. It really kind of fell for me over time. I don't know. It does, because Rob said pretentious A. That's like my main critique of the movie in general.
All right, I'm putting it in a pretentious A. All right, 12 Years a Slave.
Did not see it.
Didn't see it. I think famously, if I remember correctly, I think you, Brennan, famously said that the only slave movie you needed to see that year was Django Unchained. So I guess that's your justification.
Which makes Brennan like, at the very least, a Trump voter.
Hold up. Because the Brad Pitt produced movie is so much. The movie where Brad Pitt gets to be like, I'm nice to slaves, is so much better than Django Unchained.
No, dude, I have mixed feelings about 12 Years a Slave just because I thought
you love slavery so much, and it's such a compelling movie. I understand.
I'm like, economically, it's such a smart play. I just, capitalist at heart. No, it just bored the shit out of me. I was like, this is just I did not enjoy that movie. But in the effort of like just humbling ourselves, let's all agree it's probably an F tier movie.
Really?
No, I don't know, dude. I didn't like it. I actually don't even want to place it on this list, dude. I don't know. I have a weird opinion.
I mean, it's on the list because it's a Best Picture movie,
Yeah, well, is it? Does it have to be?
Let's see. Hold on. Let's have an aside really quick here. Hold on 1 second.
Of our whole reality.
I'm gonna look up what else was. Let's look up what else was nominated that year, and we'll see if we can place something else on that list.
Up real quick.
All right, hold on.
God,
yeah, 2013 Oscars. We got. Oh, okay. I know automatically what this is going to. Okay, so the 2013 we had 12 Years a Slave, which won. American Hustle, Captain Phillips, Dallas Buyers Club, Gravity, Her, Nebraska,
Wolf of Wall Street.
Philomena, and Wolf of Wall Street.
Wolf of Wall Street, S tier.
Yeah.
S tier.
I like,
Okay.
I like
One of,
Wall
and like
Street.
I understand how problematic that movie is, and anyone who wants to like dox me, go ahead. I don't care. But like, that is one of the more enjoyable films that has come out in a long time. If you're talking about just like a movie that's just trying to make you have fun, which so many movies are trying to make you feel or learn something, I'm just like, I want to feel good.
Okay, so then the next up on the list was 2012. We got Argo was the winner that year.
I liked Argo. I haven't seen it in forever.
Yeah, pretty much the same.
Same.
B
I
tier.
remember, I don't know. I remember post that movie winning, having some feelings about it. I don't know. I'd say B.
B. Okay, I'm fine with B.
Yeah.
We'll just lump that one in there. Then next up we got The Artist. Another one I haven't seen in ages.
I didn't see it at all. Fuck
Didn't see it at all.
Yeah, I also have not seen it.
I'll put that one in C tier just because I feel like I can't talk accurately about that.
Brennan, you are. You gotta stop.
And what's the picture this time, Rob?
It's like it's Legos like cheating on their wives. There's an incredible amount of story detail in one speech bubble. In one, honey, I'm. Oh, dude. And the other one is just like too bad to describe. Actually, I don't know.
Okay.
I'm worried about who will hear this for your sake, Jacob.
Oh, this is going out everywhere. I get, but if there's anything questionable you decide that you want taken out later, just let me know. If the Legos crossed the line, then we'll take that out.
I just
later.
feel so bad for this Lego wife.
Or if we just don't give a shit, just send them to me after the show, and I'll throw them up where I usually put the movie posters.
That's a great idea, actually. Well, because I have some screen caps of the movie you recommended, Jacob, and the picture of the director's Wikipedia. I would also like put up if you are putting up pictures.
Okay, sounds good.
This Wikipedia picture is righteous.
Yes, it is. All right, so I guess we can get we're about halfway through this list. We can just breeze through the rest of these because I am getting to the point where I don't really remember much about most of these. Okay, so then we got The King's Speech, back when Tom Hooper was not a furry.
Oh, I'll give it a B.
I don't mean, that movie, just the grain on that movie is boring as fuck. I don't like that movie.
What would you give it?
I mean, respectful, like C-. All
right,
that's even a possibility. I don't know.
Let's compromise and give it a C, I guess. That's another one where I feel like I haven't seen it in so long, so I can't accurately talk about it. All right.
Brennan just found a picture of a Lego with muscles, which is very distracting from the other Lego blowing him. Okay. Brennan, fuck off.
All right.
I am listening.
There's nothing wrong with some side entertainment. The Hurt Locker we got up next.
Ooh, S tier.
Boo.
F
F tier,
baby.
F tier propaganda.
S tier.
F tier propaganda.
S tier for I don't remember actually seeing The Hurt Locker.
That movie's good.
I remember
don't listen to Brennan.
All right. Do we want to? I'll compromise and put it in B tier or C tier, I guess.
No compromise. This is where I draw
D tier.
a line in the sand.
All right, I'll compromise. I'll give it a.
Stops here.
All right, okay. We'll just drop it there for now. I'll throw up the list. You'll see where I placed it later.
Oh, did we just drop the Iraq War where we were like we can't figure out where to go from here? I don't.
Oh, damn, Rob.
All right.
Damn.
Slumdog Millionaire.
I like it.
Yeah. Never seen it. Again, been way too long.
C.
Yeah.
C tier.
I'll give it a C.
I like Danny Boyle.
Yeah, he's done some pretty good stuff. He did a movie, I don't know if you guys have seen it, I thought it's really underrated, Sunshine. That sci-fi one with what's his name? Scarecrow from the Christopher Nolan.
Cillian Murphy?
Yeah,
No.
he's in it. Chris Evans is in it. Mark Strong. It's pretty good. I mean, it has a lot of problems with it, but it's
you talk about Peaky Blinders?
Yeah.
Peaky Blinders. Peaky Blinders.
All right. Be some Peaky Blinders.
All right, here we got some opinions about these next two at least. No Country for Old Men.
Ooh,
I like it a lot. S tier right there.
S tier. Yep. I have no argument with that. The Departed.
S tier.
Yeah, agreed.
Another S tier. Oh man.
Comical.
Because we're in the golden age. We're literally in the best years of the 2000s.
All right. Then I haven't seen this one, Crash.
I have not seen that either.
I'll give it an S tier for all the homies out in Los Angeles right now in quarantine. S tier for my boys.
Okay. All right.
Crash is good. Crash is good.
Crash is good. Okay.
Crash Bandicoot's good.
It's got people don't like it. People don't like it because it's one of those like it's like Magnolia. It's like a weird ensemble thing.
Okay. So then next up we got $1 Million Baby.
Never seen it.
It's all right.
I'm gonna throw that into B tier for me, and I'm gonna give a big shout out to my pops up in heaven, looking down on me right now. He really liked that movie a lot.
All right.
Just kidding, you dumbass bitch. F tier. That movie sucked. Fuck you. I'm looking right down at you, you dumb old man. All right.
Lord of the Rings, Return of the King.
Oh, S tier.
Yeah.
S tier?
This is like making me think that I actually shouldn't be that mad at the Oscars. And I'm like not happy about it.
I don't know how to feel. All right. Final three, we got Chicago, which I haven't seen in years.
S tier.
S tier. That beat out, that year we also had Gangs of New York, The Hours, Lord of the Rings, Two Towers, and The Pianist.
Yeah, Chicago. I stick with
Chicago? Okay.
I mean, it already won. I'll give it an A tier. I don't know about S tier. Richard Gere, right? He's the guy. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about him.
He's amazing. What are you talking about?
I don't know about him.
All right.
Ugh, whatever.
All
to
right.
death with you.
Final
Pretty
two.
Woman broke that woman's fingers.
No.
Huh? He had a drug on his ass, if anything.
He broke that pretty woman's fingers with the jewelry box.
No, you misread the scene.
I stopped watching. I slammed the VHS player into the ground.
VHS player.
No. She starts laughing.
No.
Yeah.
She doesn't. Her fingers were broken.
Oh, my God. Oh, this is so good. All right. Final two. A Beautiful Mind.
No.
B. I don't even know. B, C.
I think it's a C tier.
Okay.
Yeah, C.
Because the movie takes that guy. What's his name?
John Nash.
It takes John Nash. It takes John Nash's like big theory, the thing he built his career on, and says, "Hey, if you and your friends are trying to fuck 3 women, do it this way, not this way." It's like it's the worst piece of shit in the world.
Oh my God! And then to top it all off, he dies in a car crash.
Yeah, I mean, luckily his son is still. His son lives out.
Shouldn't we all be so lucky?
Yeah.
His son lives in Lancaster with all his dad's money, and he rolls around in cowboy boots apparently.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's weird. I live right near Lancaster. I should go looking one day.
Go find him. Yeah.
All right, and then last but not least, we got Gladiator.
Ooh. S tier.
C tier.
On the
C-tier.
other end of the spectrum, I love Russell Crowe in that movie.
I mean, I love Joaquin, but the movie is just not that good.
Yeah, dude, Joaquin with full hair lip, the one movie that they were like, we're not even going to hide it.
All right.
Plus, oh wait, who's the director in that again?
That would have been Ridley Scott.
Yeah. I say S tier. I'll compromise it like a B tier.
Okay, that's fair enough. I mean, the only that year we had excuse me. That year we also had Chocolate, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Aaron Brockovich, and Traffic.
Oh, Aaron Brockovich. I don't know.
Oh my God. Okay.
Oh, I'm glad we're done with that.
Yeah.
That took way too long.
All right.
Yeah, that was too much.
Okay.
Jacob, do we have a discernible list? Like, did we even put one movie in the D tier?
No, we put. I think we put. I compromised and put A Beautiful Mind in D tier, and then the only thing we didn't give anything to was an E tier, but whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, so we for our S tier, we got Wolf of Wall Street, which didn't even fucking win anything. no country
for the dudes.
Jacob, we've created the greatest tier list for you. We've given you this gift.
We're dudes, bro.
We got Wolf of Wall Street, No Country for Old Men, The Departed, Crash, and then Lord of the Rings 3. A tier was
weird.
A tier was Parasite, Spotlight, Birdman, and Chicago. B tier I have Shape of Water, Argo, Hurt Locker, $1 Million Baby. C tier we got Moonlight, 12 Years a Slave, The Artist, King's Speech, Slumdog Millionaire, and Gladiator. D tier was A Beautiful Mind. Nothing in E tier, and then F tier for Green Book.
The Hurt Locker thing upsets me, but I'm gonna have to stand with this list.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
Brennan, but before we move on, do you have any other Lego pictures you want to?
Dude, this is blowing up my phone. I'm just trying to ignore them for your sake, Jacob.
Oh my God. Jesus Christ.
Brennan, where did you go on the internet?
Yeah, Brennan,
dude,
what is this?
I've had to go all over the place.
One of the things you sent me gave me a redirect notice to some Chinese web. Like, you shouldn't be going wherever you're going to find things.
Well, in fairness, Jacob also almost sent us to a place like that to fucking watch his movie.
Yeah, I'm sorry
we found
about
it. Luckily, we found it in an even safer place.
Yeah.
Where did you find it at? Because I could have sworn I looked it up the day that you guys that I was like, don't look up anything about this. I checked Voodoo and it worked, so I guess they must have taken it off recently.
Yeah, so I want everyone to know that if you're ever looking for a movie or a TV show and you can't find it and you've exhausted every option, before you go to the sketchy Chinese movie site, go to Pornhub. Go to Pornhub, type in the movie you're looking for, you will find it.
Okay.
HD, 1080p, like no weird like fucking with the sound so it doesn't get caught for copyright. Pornhub don't give a fuck. Pornhub will put it, like, you can post anything. So yeah, we watched it on Pornhub. It was great.
That's actually appropriate. But let's hold off on that for.
It took me okay. Yeah,
no, let's hold off on. I want to save Fateful Findings for a little bit. So.
Rick and Morty season 4 is on Pornhub.
Again, somewhat appropriate.
Dick
and Morty.
Okay. Literally what it's called.
Oh, is that what I was watching?
Yeah.
All right, so I guess that somehow that brings us to the film discussion portion of the podcast. So anybody who's unfamiliar with the show, how this works is I used to have a movie recommendation show on my YouTube channel, and it would get flagged for copyright all the time because I would show clips. I should have uploaded to Pornhub. Advice was a few years too late. And I also just hated the sound of my own voice reading off a script. But I still wanted to do film discussion, so that's why we have this show. So every episode, I recommend the guest a movie, the guest recommends me a movie, or in this case, guests, and then we discuss what the movies were. So as I'm sure you've gathered by the title, Brennan recommended Thunder Road by Jim Cummings. Rob recommended Mean Guns. I forget who directed it, but Ice-T, I guess we can credit that with.
He was directing and writing that movie.
And then I recommended Neil Breen's Fateful Findings. So I guess, do we want to start with the good movie and work our way down?
I mean, that depends. Which one is the good movie?
All right, so Fateful Findings is about. No, let's start with Thunder Road. So Brennan, tell a little bit about Thunder Road, and then bear in mind also that we'll talk a little bit about we'll talk a little non-spoilers, and then we'll have a moment where we'll let everyone pause and go watch the movie in case they still haven't seen it by the time this comes out. So, what is Thunder Road about?
Thunder Road is a really good movie, in my opinion, about a police officer who just lost his mother or his stepmother. It's kind of unclear to me, at least. His mother. Okay, fair enough. But it is a movie about a guy who is just grieving with the loss of his mother, as well as trying to be a father to his child that does not feel super close to him. And it's kind of just about the very sad and very funny ways in which grief can affect you in the rest of your life, and a bunch of other stuff.
So, because you had mentioned it a little bit when we recorded our last episode, and because we were drawing comparisons to Marriage Story, because that was one movie that I kind of enjoyed from the past year, and you were saying about how it had a lot of similar themes, but it did them better. So I guess, and I do kind of see what you mean, but the one thing that you mentioned in the last episode we recorded was that one of the problems you had with Marriage Story and a lot of other movies made by Rian Johnson as a whole is that it feels like when he's writing, he had an argument with somebody years back, and he's like, oh, now I have a chance to be right in my argument by writing it into the script. And now I'm excited. Yeah, where do you feel like that is present in that movie? Just because I'm curious about that. A little bit throughout, but it's definitely that's definitely not a knock, because I think that while Marriage Story has moments where I'm like, oh, that's really good. I think Thunder Road was kind of consistently throughout. I was like, oh, this is good. I'm not. There's no Marriage Story loses me at points, and Thunder Road didn't really lose me. So,
I guess there's a lot to dig into, but you just mentioned that specifically. So I am curious about that. What is the points of the movie that you feel like were made because the Jim Cummings, I guess, as it were, was trying to re-win an argument?
There were the only one that's really coming to mind right now. I don't want to say exactly what it is yet because it's a spoiler, but the very end, the last conversation he has with the last conversation he has with his ex-wife, and then the conversation he has with his daughter outside the house. I was a little bit like, this is a little too
Brennan,
poetic.
You just got. Oh my gosh! Brennan really in the bear trap right
but
now.
I will say though, I really enjoyed the funeral scene. I was just kind of in awe, in all the right ways, in every way that he intended for me to be in awe. And I really, really, really enjoyed the scene where he's outside the police station and he's yelling at everybody.
Yeah, dude.
Those are my two hands down favorite parts of that entire movie.
That scene is just so strong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, are you talking about the funeral, or are you talking about the outside the police station?
Well, I think outside the police station. I mean, the funeral scene is what the movie. So the movie is based off of an original YouTube short he did. Yeah,
not a YouTube short.
Was it
it's a
Vimeo
short
or
film
something?
that was on YouTube.
It's on Vimeo. Whatever, we can.
Are you fucking okay?
That's where the classy film students put their project.
I'm so sorry. It was a 10-minute short on Vimeo of the funeral scene.
Caught you in the bear trap,
and
Rob.
Also, Jim Cummings, I'm on his YouTube page right now. He has YouTube. All right, so it's
I'm sure he has YouTube.
Does he also have it on YouTube?
No, it is not. The original is not on YouTube for some reason.
And I will say,
yeah.
for a minute though, Brennan, when you mentioned it, and I heard Jim Cummings, for a split second, I was like, Winnie the Pooh, the guy who.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
The guy the guy who does Winnie the Pooh is, I think his last name is Cummings. I forget what his first name is, but for a second I thought
Cummings.
No. It's what's his name? Sorry, Rob, you were saying. Go on with your point. I'm gonna look this up.
Yeah, I'll do my thing again. So it's the scene outside of the police station where he is like. He's doing that thing we've all done where we're embarrassed in front of a group of people and we start calling people out for their bullshit. Yeah. And every time he tries it, he just is like rebuffed with like, hey man, I like really tried to support you. Yeah. And he's like forced to be like, oh.
And I really appreciate that.
Yeah. I mean,
it's so good
like,
though.
I brought you coffee. Thank you so much for that, Larry. But fuck you right now.
It really meant a lot to me, Larry. You have no idea.
But fuck you right now.
That kind of stuff. Well, but also, but let's not forget that the build up to that, and I don't want to spoil it, but the
reveal, that reveal
is incredible. That is an incredible, like from the very beginning of that all the way through the end where he walks off, like incredible filmmaking. I want everyone who listens to this, all 3-4 million people we have listening right now, go to YouTube and look up Jim Cummings, go to his channel, and watch his short film called It's All Right, It's Okay. It's All Right.
Oh, that is good. That is good.
Cummings
is it like a similar kind of vibe, or?
It's a very, very similar vibe.
Okay.
And Jim Cummings he's making a movie right now. I think it's called The Werewolf. So like, watch out for him, dude. He's gonna be big. Like he wrote and directed Thunder Road. Like, he's awesome. He's truly like one of my favorite people right now. That's in my top movies.
Yeah. So with like that scene that we were talking about, I mean, obviously the opening scene is a really good example of like the weird, uncontrollable like way that grief works and everything like that. But I think the scene, Rob pointed out outside the police station is also a really good point of that because. He is lashing out at all those people, but at a certain point, he's just like, I found out she lost her boyfriend in Vietnam. He starts talking about his mom and everything.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it really slips away from him. And like, that is like so true to what that sadness is.
And that's also kind of like consistent with him throughout the whole movie too.
Well, you don't know, like when you're feeling those emotions, it's like, you can't get away from those like personally, I couldn't get away from my feelings I had when my dad died. And so like I would be saying totally normal things with like very weird emotional messages behind them for sure. And I don't know the whole thing, but I'm sure that he is very aware of like all the things he tackles in that movie, grief, loss, acceptance, like everything. I'm sure he's been through it.
And on that same kind of on that tip a little bit, and just to kind of bring it back around to what you were saying, Jacob, about like the ending of the movie and the argument thing there, I would say there's a definite thing to be said that aside from maybe having some like severe alcohol abuse, I think he's a bipolar man, or he's got some sort of mental illness, and there's something to be said for that. So when you talk about like him trying to, I understand in the one instance that it's very one-sided that you're referring to because, somebody else can't necessarily speak for themselves. But I would also say that I think those two scenes aren't necessarily – I would say those two scenes and a lot of the scenes in the movie aren't necessarily ever meant to make this guy look like a model citizen or a good person. A good person, but just like a guy who, does not have it together and is not necessarily a role model by any means,
Yeah.
So that's what that's my only kind of pushback to that right there.
Can I we're talking about like how Rian Johnson,
you did it. You've done it.
No.
You've done it, you fool.
Jacob,
the curse is broken.
Cut that out.
Now each of us have been in the bear trap.
We're talking about that like Rian Johnson like made a movie basically like to get, finish a Twitter argument,
Oh, right? Knives Out, yes. Yeah.
So like I would say maybe with this movie, like I'll give him a pass on that one because the argument he might be trying to finish is just, hey, like I was just in a place, and anyone who thought I was like losing my mind, I was just in this place that you can't possibly understand.
Right. Yeah, and it is like I said, it's definitely I will admit that this is definitely the better movie between that and Marriage Story, but I think that it definitely in that area there is at least some kind of similar vibe, whether that be coming from the same place or not. I think it's definitely not in that case. Like it's not from a place of like ha I win, but it's like it is coming from like I wish maybe I could go back and change what I said or how I acted. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of that. Like it's so I don't think it.
Oh, and then also really quick, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, no, you continue.
No, yeah, really quick. It is the Winnie the Pooh is also Jim Cummings.
Oh,
same name. So that's what was confusing me at first. Okay, sorry.
Okay,
continue.
He's immortal.
Yeah, he's immortal. No, I mean the opening scene is the key to the whole movie. You know, I mean, like that's really like where you get in there, and I think it's also just important, just from like an aspiring filmmaker perspective. You know, as we mentioned before, that this opening scene, not the one we see in the movie, but basically that script was the short film, and
so
then
beat by beat, the exact same thing.
There's almost, because the very important thing is just that the music is not in the actual movie,
right.
Because
licensing
and you can look.
All
yes,
that.
Well, I mean licensing, but the way they kind of frame it is that they did 6 takes one way and 6 takes the other, and the last take was the take they saw in the movie, and it was just good enough that they were like, well, that makes that a lot easier because then we don't have to go after the licensing or whatever.
Right, yeah.
And Bruce Springsteen actually has said that he liked the movie, which I think is like pretty cool, just like a knock on the whole thing. And it's like, as I'm like a fan of like you know, I'm a pretty big fan of Springsteen. My mom's a pretty big fan of Springsteen. That opening really does stick out to me in a lot of ways. There's the part where he talks about his mom, the fact that he couldn't read well. He's dyslexic, and he talks about the fact that his mom, when he went away to college, would like record all of it, like read all of his textbooks and record that.
That whole scene is that whole scene is just such a heartbreaking
it's punch after punch, and it makes you like want to hug your mom and like text your mom or do whatever you can like the second after you see it.
There's so many moments in that entire movie too, even down to like his friend when he, after that big breakdown happens in the middle and his friend comes over and his friend feels like he has to call his wife after talking with him for 5 minutes. It's just like there's so many moments like that.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that scene too is so funny where he's like, I'm sorry if I did a hate crime on you.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god! Yeah, that's something else about it. Yeah, because the one thing I really took away from the movie, other than the really his excellent performance, and a lot of the supporting cast too, the little girl especially, like one of my biggest pet peeves
fantastic.
is one of my biggest pet peeves in a movie is if you have this like you have this story where children are like a big motivating force, they're like one of the main aspects of the movie, and you have to have them say or deal with really dramatic things, and they like 9 times out of 10 they just can't. But the little girl in this movie I think was amazing. She did a fantastic job.
Yeah,
it's a testament to like whenever Hollywood is like, oh well, it's a child actor so they don't need to act. It's like, fuck you.
Right?
Like,
yeah.
You can absolutely find kids to get in these roles, which once again investigate filmmakers, but you can find children who can play these roles.
Well, I mean, yeah, and I mean, once again, that's a knock that I will have later on against your movie, Rob.
Whoa!
Sure.
I was about to say that the movie I brought to the table actually reinforces what I just said. So
okay, so
right,
I'm going to attack you. Well, I would like to say just a little bit more about Thunderbird.
Yeah. Let's hold off on that for now.
With that girl, her delivery of the like, okay. Okay, where she's like impressed with her dad having learned the game, and the fact that like you see that like he has been doing it on the wall.
Oh yeah, that it means so much to him. This trivial thing.
Yeah, just because there's that heartbreaking scene where he says "I love you," and then she like doesn't say anything back, and he just lingers out in the hallway, and it's like, this poor but so many great lines in the movie. Maybe the funniest line is where he picks his daughter up from his ex-wife's house, and they're having a bit of a spat as the daughter gets into the car, and he tells his ex-wife, hey, just don't there's some construction up the road. I just want you to be careful. I would really hate for you and Greg to get hit by a fucking train.
yeah.
So good.
Well, then, doesn't he follow that up by getting in the car? He's like, I didn't mean that, sweetie. I'm just playing.
Something like that. Yeah. I think my two favorite lines, hands down. One of them's not even a line; it's just a moment where he's dropping off his daughter back at the mom's house, and the stepdad comes out, and the stepdad's like, "Hey, I thought, did she tell you about?" And then he starts rolling up the window before the guy can even finish, and he just scowls at him. I love that moment so much. And then the other favorite line. I really liked the early on. I think almost immediately after the funeral scene, they're outside of a convenience store, and there's some drunk guy kickboxing with the air, and he's like, they don't know. And then they call that back later with his big breakdown, because I think he verbatim says a couple times where he's talking like, I was trying to look like a good dad, and they don't know. That was a really smart. It just reinforces that whole scene is amazingly performed and really well written.
Well, that scene
amazing.
Right after the funeral, with that guy and his partner, the homeless guy or the mentally ill man or whatever. Yeah. And he's getting dressed down by his chief, and he's trying to play it off cool in front of the rest of the officers. And then he comes back and lingers for a bit. He's like, yep. And then his chief is like, get out of here. He's like, all right,
I'm going.
Yeah. He starts,
I'll see you guys on the 9th.
Taking long steps away. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so good.
Well, I wanted to say, because I did not watch it today or in the recent months, because I did not realize that was also one of the movies. I will say, and I haven't seen it recently, so I can't give full context, but the scene at the parent-teacher conference with Macon Blair. Macon Blair, another
I was really happy when he popped up.
Oh yeah, I love him. I love seeing him and stuff.
He's great.
Watch out, Macon Blair, Blue Ruin, Green Room.
What's the other one that he
Logan
did?
Lucky.
Murder.
Logan Lucky for a second.
Is that another
Murder Party? Murder Party is the original one that he made with his original crew.
Jeremy
that
Saulnier.
is good.
Which is the other? Wasn't he in another one that Jeremy Saulnier did recently that wasn't as well received as Green Room or Blue Ruin?
I didn't like Hold the Dark. He might have been in Hold the Dark.
Yeah.
But
I haven't seen that yet.
He wrote and directed, I believe, I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore.
Yes, he did.
And that's really good. That's really good. Those are both produced by Film Science, which around the time that I kind of picked up on A24 as hey, that's a production card that comes on before a lot of movies I like. Film Science, I think, might just specifically be Jeremy Saulnier, however you say his name.
Saulnier, I think.
Yeah. That might be his production company with Macon Blair or whatever, because I know that they're friends. But that is another one that, if it just pops up beforehand, I'm on board. On Hold the Dark, real quick. I didn't love the movie as a whole, but there is that scene where there is a scene in the movie where a Native American guy on a reservation is just lighting up a bunch of police officers with a machine gun, and it's one of the most kind of gut-turning, intense action scenes I've seen in a movie in a while. And that really sticks out because I just don't. It's a movie that I don't love as a whole, and really don't feel like it sticks the landing. But it's also based on something else, and I really have liked his original stuff more than anything that he's done based on something else. He also did, sorry to keep doing it, he also directed a couple episodes in season 3 of True Detective, and I think those episodes also really specifically stick out.
I would agree with that. I think check out those movies. Back to Thunder Road, I just noticed that PTA meeting is very it's another one of those things where it's you don't know these emotions and feelings unless you have felt them, and he's able to put it on camera, and it's just this feeling of a parent being I'm not even as smart as my daughter. How do I fix this? I don't even I don't even know what to do here. She's the one that I go to for answers, and Macon Blair just being there's nothing I can do, and clearly there's nothing you can do. So what do we even?
Right.
I think I think he ends it with like, what do we do here or something. Like,
Yeah, I think that scene is also a good kind of like recontextualization in the movie that like sits you with Jim Cummings' character for most of the movie. That, you know, like you become sympathetic with him, but when you see like somebody like Macon Blair, who's like obviously a very grounded person, isn't a police officer, is just a teacher, you know, like kind of like just a neutral third party. And you see how those two people interact, it really kind of puts into perspective how like unhinged Jim Cummings is emotionally and everything like that. And like when he's like, can you like please he's like about to throw the desk across the room.
Yeah, just don't talk to me. Don't talk to me. Yeah,
I'd rather you don't. Yeah, it's like your daughters or whatever. Yeah, and that's just so good. Honestly,
it's your daughter's desk, and he starts like trying to put all this stuff back in it.
Yeah,
yeah. There I go.
If I could,
now I remember.
I only have one other thing that I would like to say about the movie, but it would actually it's a negative thing, but
police lives matter.
I would also say that there's a spoiler involved in it.
Okay, yeah, if we want to use this to get into spoilers, yeah. So if you haven't seen Thunder Road, definitely check it out. It's free on Amazon Prime.
Alert!
Yeah. I need to come up with some sort of graphic to play right when we get to that point so people don't.
Well, I just gave you the sound.
Yeah,
bite.
exactly.
Spoiler
Yeah, I'll just copy you into every episode. But yeah, so if you haven't seen Thunder Road, it's on Amazon Prime. You can rent it on most other platforms for no more than like $5. You don't have an excuse not to see it. It's fantastic. So yeah, you were saying spoilers.
The only spoiler or like problem I have, not spoiler, the problem I have with the movie in general is I didn't feel like there was a lot of evidence leading up to his wife's addiction. And so when that happens at the end, it kind of feels like an out of nowhere resolution to a movie for a character that might not necessarily deserve a resolution, but it is kind of thrust upon him because of the plot of the movie. But I also think maybe that might speak towards the fact that you don't necessarily see addiction. The way
I was about to rail against your point, saying like, you don't see addiction, but also, like with something like that, I mean, you have to look at it from like a movie perspective. Like, you know, your Mom's House podcast uses the phrase white bummer. I mean, this is just a movie about like nothing goes right for people sometimes.
Yeah.
Like sometimes just every horrible thing that could happen happens. But I think the most important thing about that is like you don't see addiction, and this is like a real movie. It's not even about the mom. You know, she just happens to like. I'm sure if we got her movie, like if we got her prequel movie, I bet we'd see her doing more heroin and, you know, probably smoking more crack than Harvey Keitel in Bad Lieutenant.
I'm also not ruling out that
Jim Cummings killed her and staged it.
No, come on now. I don't want that. I don't even want to entertain that. I'm not ruling out that, like, because he's a police officer and like because they like split up, that it might have been because of her addiction and everything.
Oh, you mean how like the divorcees of firemen like are the most likely to have their houses burned down?
I don't know these statistics.
There's I think one thing kind of going off of that I thought was kind of a theme of the movie is like I forget which one of you touched on it, but the whole thing of him feeling like powerless, like if my daughter is like the person I go to for when I don't know what to do, and if I can't rely on her, what do I have? There are a couple moments throughout the movie where he just gets blindsided by things, and I think that is kind of meant to, like, the whole not seeing the wife being addicted to drugs is kind of meant to reinforce that. Like the whole girl going in.
Ooh, good point.
Like when she goes in the first day of school and she has the makeup on, like there was never a moment where we saw her like looking at like a little girl magazine being like, oh man, that's the coolest new palette. I want to go with that.
That's so valid.
So
yeah, that's just, you know, it's just inferred she would have seen that because she's a normal person.
Right.
Know?
And so much of that,
that's true.
and also like you said, so much of the movie is him kind of like dealing with what's going on inside his own head. And I think a lot of times when we're stuck inside our own perspective, or we're like dealing with all these huge thoughts, we do kind of become oblivious to the world around us a little bit. So that could have just been another thing of like, he didn't notice it because he was so preoccupied with like, oh man, my mom just died, and I got to fight I want to have joint custody because it's important to see your mom. It just like he just blocks some stuff out. So
it's such a real thing where it's like you go through a loss like that, and there is no pause button for the world around you, and you spend a lot of time looking for a pause button and just being like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. You know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, right now is a pretty good example of that. You know, like, Rob, I've been laid off from work, so I kind of am on, like, not vacation, because life is hell not being able to, like, you know, afford shit or whatever, but, like, you, however, like, have to keep fucking working through all this. Jacob, you have to keep working through all this. So, I mean, there's no pause button for, like, the crisis outside of us. It's kind of wild as hell.
Yeah, it definitely is. But
I would love to get laid off. Just kidding.
I would not.
I'm Jacob, very happy. Send it to his boss.
Yeah. Clara, I'm very happy with my position. Thank you.
All right, so then I guess we'll just reiterate Thunder Road. If you haven't seen it,
it's notes app.
It's free on Amazon Prime, but I think it looks like if you want a teaser, like we said, you can go on Vimeo, the superior of the watch platforms, and check out the short film version to pretentious film students who want to show off their stuff.
What is it, like an anti-corporation thing? I don't.
Pretty much, yeah. You can monetize stuff on Vimeo, but it's not.
All right, well, that's why there's no one on Vimeo who's like making money.
They also the dumbest thing that I hate too is that I'm constantly like that's unfortunately like one thing that a lot of like media places look at. Like if you have a reel, they'll be like, send me your Vimeo link. So I'm constantly uploading stuff that I do to Vimeo, but the problem is Vimeo has a weekly cap on the total file size that you can upload. So I pay I think it's like $8 a month to have 5 gigabytes weekly of upload space. Basically,
but you might as well just get your own website.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I'm working on that.
Wait, so you're thinking that like Martin Scorsese is like, yo, Leo, send me your Vimeo.
No. But like if you want to go, like if let's say I'm at PBS now, and if I wanted to go to like Fox 43 or something, then they would be like, okay, let's see. Everything you've done in the past year, do you have a reel? And if I'm like, no, then they'd be like, okay, send me your Vimeo. Because, I mean, realistically, a reel is good, but all that really shows is, this guy knows how to cut to music.
I know. I'm Jacob, you're taking this too seriously. We're about to talk about Mean Guns, starring Ice-T and Chris Lambert. Way down, by the way.
Lambert.
Like Chris Lambert on his fall, on the like the very end of his meteoric fall. The dude, I don't even know where to start with Mean Guns.
Please, well, first of all, please enlighten me on the fall, because I literally only know this guy from this and Highlander. So what is this meteoric fall we're talking about?
Oh, well, it's like, I mean, I can pull his IMDb up, I guess, but it's like, I think right before this movie came out, the last movie he did was Highlander 3. And at that point, it was like, okay, so Chris Lambert and one producer are just trying to cash checks off of like straight to DVD trequel, you know, not even just the sequel. Obviously, Sean Connery was out of it forever ago, you know, like after the first one, I'm pretty sure. I only know that he was an A-list star for a couple of years. I think it was mainly off Highlander. Apparently,
it's got to be, right? What else? What else?
Well, and I think it's just the Sean Connery Highlander thing carried him the same way. Like a lot of actors, like, you know, made it through the early aughts just by way of like, I worked with fucking whoever. But the other thing, apparently he's very hard to work with. I can't remember the source. It's a podcast, like a film podcast I listened to, I'm pretty sure. Apparently
I believe it. With the line deliveries in this movie, I fucking believe it.
Apparently he's very hard to work with. Apparently he is very inclined to be like, No, let me give you like a rewrite. Let me like make that line better. But the other thing that's very interesting with him, especially because he's like an action star, Chris Lambert is like legally blind without glasses or contacts.
Really?
And he refuses to wear contacts on film. Like, he doesn't like it. So in this and the Highlander and any movie where he's doing like action scenes, the man cannot see the stunt double he's working with. So I think in the Highlander specifically, there's a couple scenes where I'm pretty sure he like injured or like just straight up like hit someone in the head with a claymore because he doesn't have any idea what is going on around him.
Oh, that's too good.
And I mean, and then you look at Mean Guns, which Mean Guns is an interesting movie because it's, I guess I start with the dedication. It's dedicated to the man who is credited with like inventing the
indie
idea.
Films.
Yes.
Indie films.
Yes. Which is like, I don't know what service or like accreditation bureau they did that, but so it's dedicated to him. It's made by a man. I had it pulled up. I'll try to pull it. The guy who made it has made a bunch of indie films. He made the first live action Captain America movie. Albert Pyun. Born in Hawaii. The dude's still alive. He's famous for The Sword and the Sorcerer, Cyborg, Captain America, and Nemesis. Notice that Mean Guns is not on that list. So we watched Mean Guns from a list of like bad movies. You know, the guy, much like Neil Breen, works in a like absurdist part of the indie film genre. Yeah. And Mean Guns is a testament to that. Mean Guns is a testament to like, I don't know. Do any of you have a good way to like sum it up in a couple words? Because I don't.
Yeah, Brennan, all you.
What can I mean, like, how do I sum up Mean Guns? Mean Guns is just wild as fuck, and it's the best vampire movie I've ever seen. That's what else is there to say?
There you go. Yeah, Jacob, did you get vampire vibes off of it at all?
Yeah.
There's a bunch of like
too. Okay, good.
Yeah, there's a bunch of close up on people gritting their teeth.
Yeah.
Which might just be like Brennan. You and I
honestly thought that it was going for like a From Dusk Till Dawn thing. Like it was going to be one.
So, yeah. I thought we were doing that turn. I thought that.
Nope,
turn was
it is
come.
exactly the movie prescribed.
But like, it's hilarious because now that you mention that, I remember, like I said, I that moment happens when they're all going in the beginning, and we get the close up on the teeth, and I was like, oh, we're gonna have a twist later on, and I completely forgot about that until by the time we got to the end.
So you're talking about that close up on the teeth right there.
Yeah.
And
of the security guard.
I just want
like 10 minutes
exactly. And what I want to so I wrote 3 notes. I wrote notes for Mean Guns. I didn't write notes for anything else. I wrote notes for Mean Guns. And it starts off with like Ice-T offering to play chess like he's death in the Seventh Seal with like Max von Sydow. So I just had a very funny idea of the Seventh Seal with Ice-T. The other note I wrote is that Ice-T is a vampire, and because he's doing a lot with those teeth and his eyes, the whole thing. There's a lot going on there. And then the third thing that I would like to lead into, which we can backtrack on the vampire, but the third thing I would also just like to mention is gunshot credits.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. The credits are pretty awesome with the way they make music out of gunshots and like Mamba.
Where did you find music in that? I just heard
they play Mamba music behind it, and the gunshots are
so
like
much
edited
fucking Mamba music.
I mean,
Baby
Driver, who?
Yeah.
This movie is so pro Mamba music, it's incredible.
Yeah. There's only one time where it worked for me. There's only one time where the Mamba. It's like towards the end after Lambert And Rob, the gangbang scene where maybe the almost gangbang, which we can get into, but there's a scene where Chris Lambert is like hiding behind a wall, and then he pops off from behind the wall with akimbo pistols, and the mambo music is going, and I was like, that works.
Well,
that
anytime mambo music plays at a certain point in the film, it is like a cue for action to happen. And I want to just say, so like, to get it all out there, the beginning of the movie is just the syndicate, the crime family.
Oh, you mean
known as just the syndicate has
the syndicate
has brought
the one from the Mission Impossible franchise, I guess.
Yeah, the syndicate. From the. Oh my God! So the syndicate has like brought together all of the criminals that they employ into a maximum security prison that is closed. It's about to be open, so there's no one in the prison yet. And all of these criminals are the ones who have betrayed the syndicate. So the whole thing is that we are going to put 100 people in a prison with $1 million hidden in it. And then
10 million, excuse you.
Oh, I'm sorry, 10 million. 10 million. Well, the briefcase
Rob's just
full
making
of
the movie
money.
better. Rob's just like accidentally making the movie better.
$10 million actually justifies it way too much. But so the goal being like, you'll all kill yourselves over the money. The weird thing is, Ice-T, as this angel of death, like master of games, vampire, he himself is involved in the killing, so
for only a little bit.
But no, throughout the thing, he kills like 7 of these people, and it's like it's like the dungeon master killing players. I don't think you can roll crits on players. So the premise is set up that it is just all these bad people brought in a room to kill each other. And it's Fortnite. It's Fortnite in 1997.
Well, real quick, just on that note, it's not just the dungeon master killing players, but it's also like, if you are in Ice-T's position, why are you putting yourself in danger?
No, I know. It's like,
why are you not just waving the whole thing out?
Well, that seems like the kind of thing at like a performance review would be like, Ice-T, you did a great job in this prison, but like you did not need to put yourself at so much risk. I mean, you're putting the syndicate in financial strain potentially.
In some cases, flat out like challenging people. Like, let's see what.
Well, and there's this thing. People keep saying.
Yeah.
Like you've been in management, so you've lost your edge.
You don't have
it anymore.
Yeah.
And it's like, he very clearly is more skilled than every person, including the main character who finally kills him. Spoiler alert.
So one thing about that, I think this movie is also a serious case of like Ice-T is not in it enough.
Yeah.
But to that extent, he was given other people's lines. So he's fighting with one guy at one point. And he says a line that if you just put this in the other person's mouth and rephrased it, that makes sense before a fight. But he says, now it's time to see if I think I'm as tough as I think I am. Or something like that.
Yeah, he's like presuming both sides of the conversation.
Shouldn't the other guy have said that?
Yeah. Well, and there's that other thing. He gets after. Okay, so like, I want to get there, but I think we need to just. So the plot is over.
We got to
walk more plot. Like we've gotten to the moment.
Well, actually, can we get to before that real quick? There is a terrible limo rant that is just like awful.
Yeah.
And it's about how the one guy doesn't like profanity. And it's just terrible. Yeah. It's really bad.
It's a lot of like on the bus on a field trip.
Right.
The teacher hears one kid say hell, and then all of a sudden all the kids are like saying hell under their breath.
Yeah.
It's
so
this movie's so bad.
And then from that I would like to just say action cuts, as Rob and I were calling them. Because it's the cuts that make that noise on the cut. It's crazy. It's super disorienting. we get into the area where Ice-T is about to lay down the rules for all the people he's gathered there. Yeah. And instead, he lays down this fucking gem. The best laid plans of Moon and men often go awry.
Oh yeah, his last name.
He's Vincent Moon. Moon. So he replaces mice with Moon, which is just awful. And then there's a shot of all the people in the room as we're going through. Mm-hmm. And then I texted Rob because I was laughing so hard at the lone shot of a biker with a massive beard.
Oh, dude, yeah.
It made me laugh so hard. And then Ice-T multiple times, like for 10 minutes, is asking any questions.
Yeah.
Every time.
And also pretending like he doesn't know anyone else.
Okay, yeah, Rob, I think you're about to get there. I'm so sure you're about to get there. But what I was going to say is, like, the first person to ask a question is the biker guy that I like. And I think he's like, what in the damn hell
He's
is going
just like,
on?
what if we don't want to play?
Something like that. And Ice-T blows him the fuck away. And I remember being like, no!
Blows him away. He blows him away and then yells, then don't! And it continues with the rules.
That's what it is. But it's also like, okay. And then he asks any questions again. And so in any other movie, you do that, questions. And then people have no questions. Yeah. But in this movie, for whatever reason, it takes like 2 people asking questions and getting fucking blown the fuck away.
Understand the rules of the game.
And not only that,
Bear,
Sorry, no, go ahead.
Jake.
I'll come back to mine.
No, you got it. You got it. You please.
It's not only that. He said he keeps on saying. I think he says it maybe like 4 or 5 times. Any other questions?
Yes, it's
but
like
but the rules. There's a conversation maybe like 20 minutes later where 2 characters are talking about how the rules are still unclear.
2 twins.
Yeah,
2 twins.
Yeah. Well, that is like. And like,
Rob,
I also
you can go in on the twins. Rob,
well, I'm gonna get there, but I also want to add to with Ice-T, he not only kills like 7 people after the game begins, he has already killed like 5 people by the time the game starts. Okay, because the movie kind of boils down to like every Quentin Tarantino character that was rejected from Kill Bill.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
you know,
the one thing that I kept on thinking in that car conversation where he's like, I hate swearing, I was like, this is something that Tarantino wrote as like a thing that he could possibly put in his movie somewhere. Well, and then was like, I don't like this. This isn't good enough.
Big Kahuna Burger wrapper, he threw out the fucking
and
Neil Breen found it.
Neil Breen is actually Albert Pyun. So this movie, it's just it's all like trying to do that Tarantino dialogue, trying to do very cool archetypes. Like I just want to bring to everyone's attention the female blonde like action lead of this movie is the bride from Kill Bill years before Kill Bill came out. I mean, like, to a T is that character.
Yeah.
I mean,
wait, what? I'm sorry.
Which, honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, this movie could be, the Syndicate could be the group Bill works for in Kill Bill. Now that it's all...
I don't like this.
Yeah, it's all coming together for me.
I don't like this.
I don't like what you're saying. I don't like the implications of what you're saying here.
It's all just, it's archetypes. It's like, you have the bride from Kill Bill, the like strong blonde, like Charlie's Angels girl who was like also a Marine, I guess.
No, why is she the bride from Kill Bill? Why? What
blonde
about
woman who kicks ass?
She literally like speaks.
Just being a blonde woman that kicks ass?
No, she speaks exactly like her. They dress very similar. Obviously, like
what
they look the same.
But about?
They have like the same like kind of grumbly like female tone.
I can
they are very
kind of see it, but not quite.
No, I think
none
of those outfits are
similar. If
are
anything,
you really pushing back on this?
If anything,
I am.
If anything, I would just say it's another bad ripoff. Like I don't like.
But it came before.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
my thing. Is like is Kill. It's
did it?
Kill Bill is only this came before Kill Bill.
Was this like late 90s or
This is 97.
97?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like early, like around the same time.
No, it's. I'm not saying Kill Bill is that original character either. It just is that thing.
Okay.
God, you guys are fucking terrible. You guys are really bad at talking about movies. Like,
I just think you're giving this movie way too much credit to even make the comparison between the bride and that character.
Yeah, well, are you really going to stand here and defend the bride from Kill Bill?
Exactly.
Like exactly. So anyway.
All right, so Mean Guns. Best movie of all time. Should have been on the S tier.
It's an archetype movie. It's just an archetype movie. Like, I don't know why you're derailing me on this. It's an archetype movie.
Hold up. There's one point in this movie where eventually a bunch of them team up, 4 of them team up, and Chris Lambert, for a long time, proceeds to explain which numbers he prefers, in that 4 is better than 3. And he says that multiple times and just elaborates that, 4? I like 4 better than 3.
That's the problem with I think that's the main problem I have with the writing as a whole, is that I think the writers think the audience is too stupid, so they have the same conversation happen several times, or they reiterate the same point within the same conversation at least 2 or 3 different times.
Well, hey, you guys remember math class when you would like do a question and the teacher would come over and review it and like try to show you how to do the work to do it correctly? Yeah. That whole scene is like doing that while the teacher is holding a gun at your head. It seems to be 3 minutes of someone not understanding that 3 is less than 4. And at the end of it, it's like, we all understood that 3 is less than 4. I was just thinking about the fact that you're a psycho murderer and I might not want to walk around this prison with you, but you've got me. Like, I don't know. The movie is bad. I just don't think that you can jump that far ahead without giving the context of like, every character in this movie is awful. Yeah. They're all like just terrible, awful people and don't deserve any redemption. Yeah. Which is kind of the problem. Like, with a problem with a film like this. Who are you? There's these 2 really great characters that you can root for without feeling too bad. And I'd love for Brennan to describe them. Yeah, the twins. The twins. They are.
I don't know. I mean, they're not literally twins at all.
No. One of them's Asian and one of them is like, I don't know, Midwestern.
Looks Scottish.
Like
yeah, Midwestern. What? Yeah.
They talk like it. They finish each other's sentences and then repeat the words.
Yeah, like one of them will be like together.
One of them they dance in the elevator. One of them will be like, yeah, that guy doesn't have a single iota in him. And he goes, yeah, not a single, iota. That's a good word, iota. And like, they just kind of like finish sentences with the other person's words or whatever.
And
They're funny. They're very enjoyable.
Guess what? What causes a wedge between them? A fucking woman.
Bros before
so,
hoes.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, man.
It's just, but so you have like
Simps
these really, incel nation.
Volcel, baby.
Volcel Nation.
Volcel Nation.
Well, shout out to my hands on my balls. Yeah, so you have like 2 people who are very enjoyable to watch. They get some great action in. And there's like, after we leave the opening area, which is just like Ice-T killing people, our main characters running, and a lot of Mamba music.
Yeah. Not to mention the constant discount ecstasy of gold cue that they keep using.
Yes. So there's so much awful like shit going on. They are very enjoyable to follow. Our main characters suck. Our main characters are not fun. Our main characters, like, the action around them is bad. Around the twins, the action is good. Around Ice-T, the action is good. Even the woman in like the leopard print shawl, like, even the action around her is good. But like Chris Lambert's,
Lambert.
To Rob's point about the main characters being bad, at one point when Chris Lambert meets the three good guys, I don't know, like the two girls and the guy or whatever.
Yeah.
At one point, after a very tense exchange, he refers to the one, the black-haired girl, the brunette.
Yeah.
He says, "This will help you build character." Literally saying, like, this will develop your character because your character is underwritten, and we need to figure you out as this whole thing goes along, which just blew my mind. That's how bad they suck, is that they're literally saying to each other, we gotta, hopefully something comes out of this, because you are nothing right now.
Well, and they like do very little with any of the characters to establish backstory.
Yeah.
Except for our two main boys, Chris Lambert and our British fellow, our main chap over there.
Who is that guy? He's familiar.
I thought for a second before he started talking, I thought he was Robert Forster, because they got a similar kind of face.
He's nobody.
Oh, wow.
If he's in this movie, he's nobody.
No, it's definitely not Robert Forster.
Yeah.
But they look kind of alike.
It was like a British Ben Mendelsohn.
He trotted the boards. He used to trot the boards with Michael Caine. I don't know, man. So they are our only two characters with any real backstory. And the backstory is this. Chris Lambert, I guess, had a family, and this guy, our British chap, killed his family and raped his daughter. Mm-hmm. And now,
what?
Ice-T says that towards the end of the movie.
That's the backstory, and that's why Chrissy has been trying to kill. Like, that's why they've been having the weird energy all movie, is because, and that's also why our British fellow, very like off the bat when the game starts, takes aim and tries to kill Lambert. So that's why there's so much tension throughout that whole thing. But if you're like me or anyone else watching this movie, by the time Ice-T tells you that, you're done paying attention.
Yeah.
You are like out of the movie entirely.
Yeah.
And so there's your two characters with story. Our blonde female action hero at one point says, like, the brunette character who's like just an accountant or something is like, where'd you learn to do all this? And the blonde-haired girl is like,
it's fucking line.
It's all I've ever wanted to do, you know. I did everything I could to do this, and what I didn't know, your government taught me. And then she walks off screen, and it's the most disgusting.
Real quick, can we take a second to talk about the lines? That line is horrid.
Can
we just take a second to talk about some of these lines we got going on here? At one point, the twins refer to the girl who, I don't know her name, but she almost got gangbanged. Yeah, Barbie, that's right. At one point they say, shut your piss flaps, which I really, really found repulsive. At another point, Chris Lambert, somebody says, like, you know, you got a really warped mind or whatever, and he goes, warped? You want warped? Watch MTV.
Oh, yeah.
In reference to MTV Warped, and it's like, what the fuck is going on here?
He says, you want warped? You want warped? Watch MTV. That's warped, man. Like,
Yeah. And then there's one point where, like, this is towards the end, the blonde badass is very upset, and Chris Lambert, and he goes, piss in your mouth, all I care.
Well, I got a couple of quotes I wrote. So there is a moment after the scene where the blonde woman is trying to force the brunette girl to kill a guy.
Yeah.
That
whole scene is hilarious.
So
Rob and I were talking about this earlier. Yeah.
So Chris Lambert comes out of nowhere in the middle of that scene and like just shoots the guy dead to like get the whole thing over with. And he's like, sorry, I just couldn't help myself but shoot him. And Brennan and I both like watching this blonde haired, like pale European looking guy kill a black guy, and it's like the line, the actual line is, sorry, I couldn't help myself. He was black. I mean, that's
how it comes across.
So,
basically.
but also,
whenever I see a black guy,
immediately after that, there is something happens where Chris Lambert just says, "Oh, I'm depressed now," as they like walk out of a room after killing people. But there's one I really want to bring up. It's a British chap. At one point near the end, when they're strategizing a way to win the tourney, he comes out with a story, a nursery rhyme of sorts.
Goldilocks.
And this is not the first time this British child rapist has referenced nursery rhymes. And it's like it's a spin on the classic Goldilocks and the Three Bears, except this time. The bears are cannibals. They're cannibalistic bears.
Cannibalistic bears.
It's the most wild shit. Oh,
I do have one more. And I actually think this one takes the cake.
Okay.
It's Ice-T. Mm-hmm. It's at the end of the movie. And he lets it out. He goes, redemption time, people. Time for some good old-fashioned redemption.
Yeah, I mean, it is just...
You can't use both words in the definition. You can't.
So they do something that's pretty cool. I want to bring up like a couple things I did like just real quick before we get
like the hair on fire.
Okay, well, that is.
And also putting the head through the metal lock.
Straight through the wall. Yeah. I gotta say, and Brennan texted me when it happened, and I think this is what he was talking about. When they redistribute everyone's weapons, because on everyone's way into the prison, they take everyone's guns away.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they redistribute the weapons, they just drop all the weapons from a balcony onto the floor below. And all of this is like ridiculous to see this in an action film. This is a serious movie, supposedly. All the characters pick up their guns.
There's a child rapist in this movie.
Exactly, there's a child rapist in this movie. And you have comic relief. So all these people pick up their respective guns, and they start pulling the triggers, and nothing is happening. And what they do is
going.
they shoot an action sequence where people are shooting guns as if it should be like people dying, but everyone's just like, why is my gun not shooting? And then they dump all the ammunition out over the balcony, like individual rounds. I think that's a cool thing in a movie, to be like, it's bad comic relief in a weirdly serious film, but it is like a good, like, what do red herring.
I think it's way, I mean, I understand what you're saying. It's subversion or whatever.
Right.
I think it's way funnier just to dump a bunch of fucking fully loaded guns off the thing.
And then they all
kill all the people that rush to it first. Yeah, exactly. I think that's so funny.
That's what I thought was
really
going to happen.
With that.
Yeah.
That seems like it.
Well, hold on. Let's that opening scene where Ice-T and his goons are up on the balcony and everyone is in the room with no guns. Just end the movie right there, Ice-T.
Yeah.
You can end the movie right then and there. It's like the other thing is like you're opening this prison is going to be opened tomorrow, and there's now blood, there's fucking gunfire in the walls. There's a woman with her head in a locker on fire.
And, who do you think's going to have to clean that up?
The syndicate. The fucking syndicate is going to have to clean it up.
No, prison labor is slave labor, Rob. All right? That's what I'm trying to get at here.
Okay.
We can't be forcing them to do that. That's fucked up.
Yeah, I mean, there's bad stuff in this movie.
Yeah.
No, I mean, with the bad stuff, that little girl, dude, I fucking, oh my God.
Yeah.
I hated every scene with that little girl.
Did you guys
dragged on so much in the last 40 minutes? I mean,
For sure.
It was so brutal. What the fuck, dude?
Did you guys get the impression that she was like blind for at least the first few times they introduce her because she like has the sunglasses the whole time?
I mean, maybe up until the point where she like walks her way through this maze of a prison to find the woman in the end.
Yeah, exactly.
This child navigates a maximum security prison to find the one alive person left.
Wait, but here's the other thing. Why is the movie like... So the child rapist was like nice to the kid and like didn't just drive away and like child rape the kid and like...
Well, he would have gotten sniped.
Because the gate doesn't open until
Ice-T dies.
Well, yeah, I guess. I mean, that is like such a good point of
I'm not
who's
trying
opening that gate?
I'm not trying to like make it easier for this dude to like fuck a kid, to put it bluntly, to put it like just gently or whatever. But I am just saying, like, if this guy's got that shit on his resume, he's like acting super out of character. By how do I not fucking a kid when he's got access to a kid? I mean, like, I'm not okay.
You're saying that like the second he got to the car near the end of the movie, he should have been like, all right, I know I'm in a game where I have to kill everyone or be killed, but there is a child here.
Jesus Christ.
I'm proud to say,
right here.
I'm proud to say, listen, maybe that's not the way that they think, but I'm proud to say I don't know too much about the way that they think, is all I'm saying. I can only make assumptions. If you're giving pushback on that, I've got questions for you, okay?
Oh, man.
I want to just up is supposedly like 100 people entered, right?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, no, it's like that.
So like 100 people entered, right? And feasibly all of them die by the time we get to our final kind of conflict, right?
Right.
And then an army of 60 new people show up in the prison with guns, totally unexplained, and are just killed off by our main characters. And then they never talk about where those 60 guys were, who are all teamed up. It's like 60 is better than 4. They've got you beaten. Like, I don't fucking know. But that is like, that's that thing with this movie where it's like, God, you guys didn't pay any attention.
I didn't even pick up on it being a separate group. I didn't even. It's like a bunch of.
But that's the thing. It's like a massive group of people organized, like that have all like ganged up. So it's like, why haven't we seen, like, what have these guys been doing that they've, like, been able to form this large group of people without any infighting, that they've made it all the way to the end? Because, listen, I know in Battle Royale games, if there's, like, if you can kill your teammates, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Like, they've got ammo, you're in the final ring, like, there's one other squad. Mm-hmm. That's my point. It's like, I don't know where these extra guys came from. It seems like they just fluffed up the middle of the movie, and they just were like, we got to tack on a bunch of action right here in the end.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I say this? I actually have literally nothing else to say about the movie unless there's something. Unless there's something you guys bring up.
Yeah. No, I'm happy with where we're.
I have to. This is what I have to say. I didn't get an HD copy of this movie. I don't know. I don't know if one exists.
I don't think so.
Looks like shit.
Yeah.
I have like, it's really rough, and like, I mean, I guess
not just the transfer, because like I definitely thought that too. There's definitely moments where it's like, oh, there's like dust that pops up randomly, and like it's just everything's overexposed and shitty looking. But there's
the lighting is crazy.
But there's flat out moments. There's scenes where early on, namely where like before Chris Lambert shows up, where it's like the British guy and the 2 chicks, where there's like 2 or 3 scenes. Yeah, she's completely out of frame.
Exactly.
It blew my mind. It just
No, well, and then there's a crazy sequence where Chris Lambert is like going nuts, and he's seeing all, like, it's all shot in red. And I just have written down like, oh great, now the movie's harder to fucking watch. Like, this is like, I can't tell at all what's going on right now.
For like 10 minutes here's one thing I actually want to touch on before we finish it up.
Okay.
Chris Lambert's character supposedly is on a ludicrous cocktail of Prozac, Ritalin, and what was the other one, Brian? Valium. Yeah. And so it's like this character...
All pretty normal medication.
Yeah, okay, but this character who for sure isn't prescribed that cocktail medication is just hallucinating his ass off the whole movie. And we only get a couple minutes of it where he sees like a sniper. No, the whole movie should have been more of him.
The Angel of Death sniper?
Like, yeah, we see the Angel of Death sniper, and then we see his like creepy dead, kid in a hallway. And it's like, I think the movie should just all be like Chris Lambert hallucinating as he runs through this prison killing people. That's a more interesting movie.
Yeah, that would be hilarious. That's and a shame that we'll never get it. I'm
about to hop on that cocktail myself. So.
Maybe that can be the movie that I finally I make that you guys produce. We'll do Mean Guns, the good version.
That sounds horrible.
Fortnite the movie. But,
yeah, I don't want... I'll make it, but I don't want my name on it.
So Mean Guns, meh, at its very best, meh.
Let's put it on the tier list. Where is it on the tier list?
I'd give it an F. Like, I just don't...
Well, I think, let's talk about, Jacob, I agree, but let's also think about it in the context of so bad it's good, or whatever,
Oh well, and also we get a really. I will stand by Ice-T's performance.
Okay.
As much as I would stand by any other of my favorite actors.
And we can go into how he's a vampire with super strength. And
then they had to kill him with silver desert eagles.
And exactly. And they specify that his teeth aren't made of silver; they're made of platinum.
Oh, that's such a good point. Oh my god! It's a vampire movie.
My god!
Crazy. And then I said this to Rob, it's not a cross, because a cross would burn him.
Yes.
It's a T, because it's iced tea. And so,
it's just what Ice-T... That's literally... Yeah. That's the other thing. That's not a costume. That's just what Ice-T was wearing in 1997.
Yeah. No, that's what it is.
So, then what are we feeling on this tier list?
Ooh,
do we want to give it...
So
how about we do this? We didn't assign a single title to the E tier. Do we want to just lump it right in there? Okay.
Yes, E for Edward, Team Edward, vampires. Done.
I agree with that. Robert Pattinson's way better than Taylor Lautner.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, speaking of so bad it's good, actually really quick. So if for whatever reason our conversation has intrigued you enough to watch Mean Guns and you haven't yet, you can rent it on most platforms. I watched it on YouTube for like $4, which I think is $4
Amazon.
More than it's worth.
Yeah, it's on Amazon, but fuck Amazon.
But
and wait! I didn't look, but I bet you can find it on Pornhub.
Probably.
I'm still saying, just go on Pornhub. You'll find it. I bet you'll find it.
And if you don't, there's a bunch of really neat videos on there.
yeah. I'm sure you'll find something.
There's something for everybody. Yeah. Oh my god! But yeah, speaking of one thing I wrote down as we were talking right there, but we were talking about interesting credits. One of my favorite pieces of credits in any movie ever goes to the movie I recommended Rob and Brennan, Fateful Findings by Neil Breen. So, and I do want to start this off by saying I was watching Mean Guns right before we recorded. Just because I had some other stuff that I had to get done before I could do this, but so everything was kind of last second. But as I'm finishing up Mean Guns, I got messages from both of you simultaneously. Rob, you had said something like, "Wow, that was awful," and then Brennan it just followed up with, "I'm so mad at you right now." So please elaborate.
Well, let me say this. So, first of all, you sent us a whack ass link. It was really hard to figure out, especially for me as somebody that's on my iPhone here. So I had to wait until Rob figured it out on Pornhub.
Okay.
And then it also took me a minute. So here's the thing. On Pornhub in general, I'm a guy who always looks at the comments. And so, like, my
yes.
instincts also took over. And at the bottom of the comment section was a guy who said, I had to watch this for a podcast, and I wish I hadn't.
Oh no!
God, I've never felt
Rob?
more on board with this human being.
Well, that was me from the future.
Oh my God! So I guess a really quick summary. Neil Breen is a breakout, very
Maniac,
strong.
a man who needs to be put down.
He is a strong, powerful voice for the independent film movement. He has made
hard disagree.
He has made five feature films so far. Recently, he's producing a documentary on the making of all 5 of his movies, which is yet to be released.
Thank God he's making that for everyone.
Fateful Findings
Does
is
he
the...
wait, hold up.
Yeah.
Does he legally have to release that as like proof of like him not doing shit on set or whatever?
No. So
the movie that he released here that we're talking about today, this guy's a fucking creep. Especially because the casting.
He really is.
Especially because
Jacob,
I realized he's a casting guy too. I was like, God.
Yeah, you gotta know, Jacob, because I've never seen his other movies. I've only seen the supercuts.
I've seen.
Is there this much nudity in all of his movies?
So there's
partial nudity.
So
partial. I was about to say how much nudity?
And specifically him. Specifically him.
There's a great there's an infamous shot in his first movie where he's in a public pool with a woman, and they're both naked and they're floating face down, and we get a very good shot of the gooch for a solid 10 seconds.
Okay.
But the whole documentary thing is I
want them to see it.
That was a promise that he the documentary was a promise that he was fulfilling because his last movie was crowdfunded. I haven't seen his most recent movie yet, but from what I understand, it's the most hilarious thing that he's done. It's just impossible to find a copy of anything that he's released unless you buy his DVDs, which are like $40 a piece, and all you get is the movie. So,
to put it nicely, Neil Breen looks and acts and makes movies, like he is the incest child of Steve Guttenberg. That is who Neil Breen is, all right?
Okay.
Well, I want to say, I looked at his Wikipedia, and I have this, Jacob, you've said so bad it's good. Brennan, you've said that too. I have this thing about these so bad it's good movies where it's like, hey, let's not encourage some of these people. Some of these people shouldn't be encouraged to make these films.
I also agree with that, Rob.
And he himself, in his Wikipedia page, apparently he was an architect.
He still is.
And
real estate.
So my whole thing is this is just a rich asshole who decided in the early aughts, he was like, oh wow, it's really easy for rich people to get their hands on nice high quality cameras now. I'm gonna make a movie.
High quality. This movie is so much easier to see than the fucking Mean Guns.
Yeah. Okay. Mean Guns.
That's
is
the only nice thing I can
97.
say about this movie.
They filmed it on the first Nokia
than Mean
phone.
Guns.
If you ever look at his the first movie he made, it looks like it was ripped straight out of the 80s, and it's from 2005. So if that's any consolation,
is that the one where he's in the desert with computers and shit?
Double down.
Yeah.
Hold on.
I have high school videos that look better than that.
Yeah.
No joke. We've got mass media projects that are way better than this shit.
Exactly. But I am a hard disagree with you guys. I want to see more of what this guy does. I find him fascinating. I want to see more of whatever weird.
Neil Breen.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. You know what? I got major. So Rob and I have just watched the first 2 seasons of Twin Peaks. That is fresh in our memory.
Oh yeah, he is a Twin Peaks character.
I've heard him described as a Tim and Eric sketch.
Well, yes, there's that.
That gives him too much credit.
No, exactly. There is no. But here's what I would say is he's a man who the only media he's never read a book. or seen a movie or a TV show, the only thing he's ever seen is the first 2 seasons of Twin Peaks. And they allowed him, he's got money, and they allowed him to make a movie. And so that's just what he knows as a normal movie. Like, that's the kindest thing I can say to him, because there's some weird shit going on in here. There's like a book that's almost like the fucking Obelisk out of 2001.
Well, this is the least interesting plot. This is the least interesting plot of the movies of what I know.
Okay.
This is the least interesting story.
What would you say is the best thing that he's done so far? Because I think it's this.
I've only seen the supercuts. That's my issue. I've read all the synopses.
Which, by the way, actually, here, Brennan, tell me what you. I want to hear really quick, since you're Rob, so you're familiar with it. Brennan, I'm going to give you a good sense of the dynamic range this guy has as a writer. Okay, so his first movie is called Double Down. All right, he plays a hacker who lives out in the desert. Who wants to.
Loves hacking.
He wants to expose government secrets for their corruption and terribleness.
Brennan, you're right.
I have a question.
He's seen Twin Peaks season 1, and he's seen Hackers with Angelina Jolie.
That's a good point. I have a question.
Yeah.
In any of these movies, does he get at all specific about the secrets that he has exposed?
I think we all know what he. I mean, the secrets. We all know what he's talking about.
Okay, wait.
Actually,
I actually have something about this. I actually have something about
this. Suicide montage at the end of the movie. It's not Michael christening his child, but it's and all of these people committing suicide.
But anyway, really. So Double Down, hacker in the desert trying to expose government secrets. His next movie, I Am Here Now, and we got to emphasize that because there's 4 periods in between here and now, is about
one more than an ellipses.
yeah.
Neil in I Am Here Now. Neil Breen is space Jesus from another galaxy who has created all life on Earth and has come down to punish the people he deems bad for failing as a human species. Fateful Findings is about a hacker who wants to expose government secrets for corruption and prove how evil the government really is.
He's a writer.
He's a writer. Okay, yeah. Okay, so a little bit different. Pass Through and Twisted Pair, his 2 most recent movies.
Yeah, 2016, 2018 or whatever.
Yeah, he is a cybernetic being from the future who has created all life on planet Earth, who wants to come down and punish the human species for their failures to thrive.
It's the Breenaverse.
He's a Scientologist reformist, which those guys are really fucking crazy. And this guy is just so up his own ass about everything. I mean, it's nuts. Well, it's one thing to put yourself. It's because we watched Jim Cummings put himself in a movie, and not once does he prop himself up on a pedestal. This guy's just jumping pedestal to pedestal like fucking Mario.
Can we talk about the way he types?
Yes.
Oh my god. There's so much to talk about the fucking computers. I have 2 things. I gotta get through
the
something.
Coffee.
Hold on. Okay. I got 2 things. One with the secrets. I just want to bring up, I read the wiki synopsis for this movie.
Okay.
The Wikipedia for this movie and his Wikipedia are written sarcastically.
Yes.
The whole article is
definitely
written, the synopsis, it's all sarcastic. And the one that they quote it 4 times in this wiki synopsis, they quote, the whole thing is him trying to find, I quote, the most secretive government and corporate secrets. That is the quote. It's the most secretive secrets you could possibly find.
And not only that, but you want to talk about on-the-nose dialogue. The very first scene we see him in his office, he's typing, and he stops to say to himself, I'm going to continue to hack into these government databases to see what I can find about all this national and international corruption that I know is going on.
Wait, here it is. Here's a quote from that scene. I have a damn master's degree in computer science, and I turn out to be a writer, ... of novels.
Yeah. So this movie is like, It's
first shot of his desk, 3 laptops. I just
Yes.
want to make sure everyone knows
yeah,
that.
and like none of them are on.
None of them are on.
Yeah, but like.
That's the other thing about his movies is there's like to answer. I didn't even answer your question, but the nudity is constant. The laptops getting broken is constant. The magical
It's just
rocks
all his
and or
broken, it's all his broken laptops.
the
He
magical
just doesn't-
the magical rock and or magical item is constant. The women not wearing bras is constant.
How about the children? How about the children? How about
the children
like,
are
underage
constant?
girls?
Well, not okay. This is the only one where we have a thing like that, but there are other movies he's done
so
where you have
wild.
terrible
Evolving.
children
so he's
actors.
evolving as
Yeah.
a filmmaker. Okay.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
he's like as a pedophile.
He's
Or
like, I finally got around to Woody Allen's film. He's like,
I'm
what
sorry,
is he talking about?
Jacob. I'm sorry. I've been using the word pedophile. Your listeners might prefer a phebophile. I know.
Oh my God.
I know that's what they've been going by recently. But I'm not trying to alienate them. I don't condone any of their shit, though.
Yeah,
All right?
it's a disease.
Fair
Like
enough,
alcohol.
fair enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right,
Get
so
help.
sorry, Brent, you were saying I cut you off. What were you saying?
I mean, I think I was probably about to lead into the fact that this dude, it's super weird. This guy just has made a movie where, like, a girl
Just
who
touching. Like,
I don't like. Okay, so I did not look into if she is underage. But
No,
like,
she's not. She's not.
In the context of the movie, it feels very much that way.
Yeah.
And I just do not
it's
care for
expressly.
that at all.
I'm pretty sure it's
Yeah.
expressly said.
Pretty much.
Well,
yeah.
I'll also say this. Here's the thing. I started the movie. I was very upset. It really sucked for a little bit, and then he gets hit by a car, and that was very funny. It made me laugh a lot.
Yeah, but wait, spoil. Oh, well, also, it's so funny the way he drops his phone too, and bends over. That's how he gets hit.
There's a point that someone made where you could take any scene out of this movie and put it in black and white and put like elevator music behind it and have an announcer go, "Are you tired of this happening to you?" And you have instant infomercial fodder.
Also, everybody is spiking the camera.
Yeah.
Every single one, every single actor is looking right in the fucking camera. Especially his, wife who has a
Strange
non-American
foreign
accent.
Whoa,
Yeah.
and
I
here's
don't mean to say
actually
strange foreign, non-American.
Implaceable.
But yeah.
he was compared a couple minutes ago to Tim and Eric, or a Tim and Eric sketch.
Yeah.
The one thing I want to compare him to Tim and Eric on, it's like, this guy is obviously working with no-name actors, same as Tim and Eric. This guy somehow makes the Tim and Eric no-name actors look like Hollywood A-list stars.
Yeah.
Like the guys,
some of them are. I mean, like Ray
the
Wise.
people no, I know, but I'm talking about the real deep cut, like no-name people.
Well, I mean,
on
you
Tim
got
and Eric.
you got the guy from.
Well,
I think you should leave.
That's
My
not
point is that
guy.
these people in this Neil Breen movie look like they are so desperate to get their SAG card, and he's just like printing them out of his van. Like, it's
it's not entirely
good.
Not entirely fair though, because Jim has gone on to be on an episode of Pawn Stars. The guy who gets murdered, and that girl that we keep on talking about.
Poor Jim.
The girl that we were talking about is now like a famous Instagram model. So
okay,
we all got to start somewhere.
None of this has any. Oh my god.
Well, Jacob, do you think how many pedophiles you fucking think saw this movie and were like, I gotta fucking follow this girl on Instagram, and of course now she's famous.
Exactly.
All right, like, of course now. I don't mean to be like rude or dark, but that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
But also, I want to just once again. This guy should not be allowed to do what he is doing.
To go out of the house.
This guy, like, we are in quarantine right now. This guy should be in constant quarantine. Like, you know how at like CIA black sites, they dose you up with LSD and then they play like really awful Barney episodes? This guy is that. And you should keep him locked up in a fucking black site. Like, that doesn't belong in the real world.
So, Jacob, I want to know.
Oh, I hated this movie.
It was at a certain point, Rob was like, I'm scrubbing around a little bit,
Yeah.
And I was
Hey,
like,
that's our secret, Brennan, you piece of shit.
Well, no, you'd seen the supercut. You got the gist of it. You saw the important parts.
and I also scrubbed 20 minutes myself. And then, I saw a bunch of stuff. This guy just being wild with pills and bullshit.
Most importantly, did you see for everything we've said about for everything we've said about Neil Breen, I feel like I need to make sure. Did you see the most compelling scene in the whole movie where Jim unfortunately commits suicide?
He does not do it, but yeah, his wife kills him, yes, obviously. And then the daughter comes and is like, "You killed him," and she's like, "Go inside." No, I didn't. No, you just saw that. And she puts it down. It's wild as hell. No, I wish
that I could step inside Neil Breen's head and imagine, like, because you got to imagine he was like, "This is my moment. This is my Oscar. This was in Ed Wood where Johnny Depp is like, this is the one they're gonna remember me for. That was happening in Neil Breen's head when he smeared that blood across his cheek and he said, "I cannot believe you committed suicide. I cannot believe that you committed suicide."
I can't.
Dude, I gotta pull the Wikipedia again.
All right, sorry, I keep cutting you off, Brennan. What were you saying? I'm sorry. You were scrubbing around. You skipped 20 minutes.
I was just gonna say, I was very close to just watching Ghost Rider 2 instead, and just trying to fuck with you and just do that instead of this. But I decided to show some respect because it was so easy to watch it, and there's so much of this movie you can. I really wasn't doing anything else because I had to watch it on my phone. I couldn't use my phone for anything else.
Yeah.
But there's so much of this movie that I can just look around my room and be away from it.
You were watching this and you're like, wow, my room's actually a lot bigger than I thought it
was. In the most real funny terms, I was just thinking about somebody who was mean to me on Instagram recently. And I was able to zone out with that for a little bit. And for some reason, it was more comforting.
Yeah, well, it's like when you sit down to take a shit and you realize that you don't have your phone after you've already started taking the shit, so there's no going back. There's no going back to. There's you're stuck in 2002. That's it. I wanted to just talk about the computers.
Yeah.
So on his desk, he starts with 3 computers, laptops, none of them turned on, just slamming the keys with his fingers too. His typing is incredible.
So limp-wristed.
Well, and he also, it's he's adopted this typing style of not looking at the keyboard. Yeah. And I think in his mind, he thinks it implies, I'm so smart, I don't even need to make sure I'm not making mistakes.
Comical, though. It really truly looks comical, as if somebody was in a comedy movie as a person that was pretending to.
Whenever you see someone trying to play a video game in a movie, and you can tell they're just mashing buttons.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It looks like a Sims typing on a keyboard.
Yeah. And so he has 3 laptops. He's typing on the one, and then he passes out and spills coffee all over that laptop.
Yeah.
I have never spilled coffee on my laptop, but I have gone out of my way to avoid spilling coffee on my laptop because I know what happens when you do that, when you spill a liquid on a laptop. So we fast forward 2 scenes. We're back at the desk. Now 4 laptops sit on the desk. Now we're at 4 laptops. None of them turned on.
Yes,
it makes sense
good point.
because laptop 1 has been destroyed. He needed to replace it, right? So he's got 4 laptops now. He did. Yeah, but that's the other thing. He didn't just take one of the other laptops and say, all right, this is the one I'm using now. He got another laptop to it because those 2 laptops, they are doing what they need to be doing. They're essential where they are. So we're at 4 laptops on his desk. And we get to this scene with his wife where they go from impassioned conversation, I think, to argument to laughing giddy sex in his office. And during this scene,
that is crazy.
During this scene, he it's that thing where it's like, I gotta push all this stuff off my desk to fuck this woman. But he, like, one by one, it takes one laptop and just drops it. Grabs the other laptop, just drops it.
He throws so much paper up in the air. He just keeps
they're ripping each other's
paper.
Shirts. They're ripping each other's shirts. Like, he destroys the office. And then later in the movie, because, like, we never really get a feel on which laptop is which because three of them look the same.
Yeah.
He's typing again. And my question for you is, as a filmmaker, how can you not show me that you are currently using a working laptop when I've seen you destroy all the other laptops?
I think it's just an unspoken. I think it's an unspoken rule that hackers just have a closet full.
Oh yeah. Well, I was thinking, like, maybe he got the one laptop because only the keyboard broke when he spilled the coffee. I was like, maybe he just needs a new keyboard to use. Yeah. Hackers, man.
But yeah, no, there's I think I don't remember if I said it earlier, but there is, if for whatever reason you decide you want to go back and check out more of this guy's filmography, there is a drinking game based on all the tropes of his movies that is very, very fun to play. I've done it once or twice with several of my other college friends, and I guarantee you'll be wasted by at least 20 minutes into the movie.
Jacob, can I be real with you, man?
Yeah.
I like really struggle with addiction in a lot of ways, and I'm like trying to deal with it. I love getting fucked up. Mm-hmm. This movie made me want to get sober. This movie, I can't take it anymore. I need to get back to ground zero. Shit like this is being made. I need to hit reset. All right. So, I'll see you in 30 days.
I just gotta say, like, Neil Breen naked in the shower made me very uncomfortable, very sad. The other thing
makes me uncomfortable.
The other thing that really upset me is Trash Bag World. The black void world he created by just plastering trash bags up in his garage.
That's a great point. Yeah.
That was like very, very uncomfortable for me every time we had to go back there.
Trash Bag World.
But the other thing about these movies that I thought was so funny with the trash bag thing, where it's like, oh, you just like figured out you could just plaster black trash bags around and a camera won't pick up anything but you. Like, okay, cool, whatever. You're doing your thing. You're making movies. But there's a scene where he's looking in a mirror.
Yeah.
And he walks away from the mirror, and it does that trick where he's like still in the mirror, even though he's not.
Yeah.
And that's with this movie, and like a lot of movies in this category, it's like, oh, while you were making this movie, someone showed you how to do that, so you were like, I gotta put this in my movie.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's gonna really tip it over.
And there's a lot of other scenes like that where it's like you'll have a character like sitting in a chair, and we'll fade to the same shot, but there's no one in the chair. Or like the random businessman's
old
feet
lady
that walk in and out of scenes and then fade away.
With the blood? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's the old lady who like fades away at the end. And I felt like that was very much out of Twin Peaks. Yeah. Listen, I really there's so much to say, and I've just got nothing else.
Like,
okay.
Like let me speak for Brennan. I don't like you anymore.
Yeah, it's you know, like you talked about like having us on the podcast again, and I'm like, I don't know how to like block you fast enough. I think is truly the real answer here.
If I recommend you something that like strictly art house A24, will you come back?
Well, no, I mean, once again, motherfucker, I can't believe I like genuinely tried to find a movie you hadn't seen that was like good, and then you both. Fucking like I've got like Pete Buttigieg and Elizabeth Warren on the podcast with me, rat fucking me from both sides over here.
All right, Bernie.
God damn it,
Bernie. It was a lot of fun talking about your super serious movie. That was the most fun part of the podcast. You're right.
All right. So, if any, I guess, is that our final thoughts on Fateful Findings, or do we want to anything else we want to say?
I'm done. In the words of Daniel Day-Lewis and fucking There Will Be Blood, I'm finished. All right.
Well, yeah. I just want to say, if you truly need to experience Neil Breen, the supercuts of his films are way more enjoyable. Because, like, what Jacob was talking about, the drinking game, the supercut I watched is literally just, like, they took all the scenes you would drink normally at, they cut out all the other garbage, and they mixed it all together, so you get, like, 40 minutes of awesome, wild shit.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I think that's the way you should experience this guy if you're going to.
Okay. I agree.
You're an alcoholic.
Yeah,
yes,
no,
I understand.
and if anyone else is listening that's interested, I think on my channel right now I do have 2 of those watch parties I hosted with some friends where we checked out this movie and his first movie, Double Down, and I'm pretty sure we were also playing along the drinking game at both. So if you want to get a good sense of what these movies are before you check them out for yourself, then check those out as well. But
yeah, I'm gonna go comment on those right now.
Rob found a way to copy and paste commas into swastikas, so he's like just dropping that.
Wait,
all over your feed
Jacob,
right
I got
now.
a question. You recorded like the whole watch party? Like it's like an hour or so. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So
what I did was I sat down and I just had this recorder going, and then I cut it down to like the best like 10-15 minutes of it. So it's not literally just it's not a commentary track straight through. It's literally just the moments where we all lost our shit. Yeah,
I was gonna say, if you're gonna watch these movies, you should listen to Jacob's commentary so that when you kill yourself, at least it will be to the sultry voice of Jake.
The sound of my horrible Seth Rogen laugh as you. Well, I was gonna say,
no. If you kill yourself but you put headphones on, you'll think you're dying to Seth Rogen laugh.
As you get elected to become a corrupt senator and then lock yourself in a car and turn on the gasoline.
Those senators looked ragged. Those were not senators.
Two of them shot themselves in the head.
Homeless people.
Like, he couldn't think of enough ways for them to kill themselves either.
Yeah.
Like 2 of them blew their brains out.
And he had to show a sniper trying to kill him. Yeah. He had to show the fact that he also people were trying to stop him.
He sees it and is like uninterrupted by it during his speech.
One of the quotes, like, when people see what I've been working on, they're gonna see the way they should really be seeing things. Like, it's
what I have found will shock you.
Seriously, I have nothing other to say about the movie than he needs to go to jail. Like,
yeah. Agreed.
I'm a strong disagree. Anything that he makes, I'm gladly gonna see any way I can. He has a new movie coming out, Twisted Pair Part 2. The release date to be determined.
He's on his sequels now.
Yeah,
he's built the universe up enough that he's on his sequels.
His last movie, literally, Twisted Pair, it ends with a fucking Avengers. Neil Breen will return in Twisted Pair Part 2. So
pass.
Not only that, but so he funded movies 1, 2, 3, and the first 3 movies he funded by himself. He crowdfunded his 4th movie, Pass Through. I think he crowdfunded Pass Through and Twisted Pair, and now he's actually asking for studio support for Twisted Pair Part 2. So I don't know.
Like,
hopefully we can see.
This person has a mental illness.
Hopefully we can see.
You shouldn't be encouraging this behavior, Jacob.
I want to live in a world where we see A24 as Twisted Pair Part 2.
Listen, if it takes like the world we're living in right now versus like more Neil Breen, I truly hope coronavirus takes us. I'm done with this whole thing.
All right,
Jacob, thanks so much for having us on the podcast, man.
Of course, man. Yeah, thank you guys for coming out. This is the most fun I've had in a long time. Given all the shit that's been going on in the world, I'd love to have you guys on again. We joked that if and when this all blows over, but definitely I am in a huge rush to get you guys on again.
Yeah, well, I know Brennan's hot to leave. I'm not going anywhere, Jacob. I'm actually staying on the podcast for another couple days.
Right.
So Keep your recorder on.
Okay. Well, here, let me just
Jacob,
wrap.
you can actually go to sleep.
Okay. Here, let me just wrap this up really quick. So, yeah, thank you guys for watching the Watchlist Podcast. Again, Brennan and Rob, thank you guys so much for coming out. Join us next time. We're going to have a friend of mine, Nadia Marblestone, who is a production person. I think she does editing and videography work for Greenleaf Productions out in Bethlehem. We're going to be talking about 2 comedy movies. She recommended me Due Date with Robert Downey Jr. and Zach Galifianakis, and I recommended her Obvious Child. I'll put how you can watch those movies in the description so you can be in on the conversation for next time. So thank you guys for watching the Watchlist Podcast, and we'll see you next time.